Chapter 51. Manager Pang, as far as I know, Master Shi Xuanmu is a true disciple of our sect, so his cultivation should be at least at the fourth layer of the core forging realm. However, I can see that although the jade talisman is glowing with a golden light, there are 3 spiritual halos within it. It's obvious that it was made by a third-layer core forging realm master. The one who spoke was Shi Lingling from room 10. When Lu Ping heard Shi Lingling's words, he hurriedly looked at the jade talisman. However, he could only see a golden light flowing on the surface of the talisman. He knew that Shi Lingling must have cultivated some kind of secret technique related to her eyes. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to use her divine sense to observe like the rest of them. On the stage, Manager Pang smiled awkwardly. So it's Miss Shi from the Shi clan. No wonder you can recognize the inside of this talisman. This talisman was made by Master Shi when he was still at the third layer of the core forging realm. Now that he has broken through to the third layer, he's already a true disciple of Jinling. Lu Ping didn't know that there were so many divisions in Jinling. Previously, when Master Immortal Lu advanced to the late blood condensation realm, he accidentally heard that Master Immortal Lu was already a core disciple of the sect. It seemed that there were still true disciples above the core disciples. From their conversation, it seemed that the requirement to become a true disciple was to be at least at the fourth layer of the core forging realm. Lu Ping, who had heard some of the secrets of Jinling, was trying to guess Shi Lingling's identity when Manager Pang announced the start of the bidding. The starting price of the talisman was 2,000 spirit stones. Due to the high starting price, it was mainly targeted at the descendants of the aristocratic families. Unless there was a nouveau riche like Lu Ping, ordinary blood refining realm cultivators didn't have so many spirit stones. Therefore, the price of the talisman didn't rise very quickly. Lu Ping already had a talisman, so he didn't bid for this one. Moreover, he had already angered the public. If he bid now, it would only cause more chaos. Lu Ping's heart thumped. He took out the talisman he obtained. Since this talisman had been used once, the golden light on its surface had dimmed. Lu Ping focused his gaze on the inside of the talisman treasure. Sure enough, he saw a faint spiritual halo circulating in the middle of the talisman treasure's spirit jade. Lu Ping couldn't help but feel bewildered. This talisman treasure was made by a first-layer core forging stage enlightened master. However, when he recalled the power of the golden spear, Lu Ping shook his head and thought to himself, if a talisman treasure made by a first-layer core forging stage enlightened master is so powerful, then how powerful would a third-layer core forging stage enlightened master be? At this time, the auction for the treasure talisman was nearing its end. Shi Lingling continued to increase the price without the slightest hesitation, causing many cultivators to stop bidding against her. The price of the treasure talisman had already risen to 4,300 spirit stones. At that moment, a middle-aged cultivator with a cold expression on his face made his bid. 4,500 spirit stones. Shi Lingling increased the price without hesitation. The middle-aged man turned his head and glanced at Shi Lingling's private room number 10. He didn't say a word. This talisman treasure was bought by Shi Lingling. After the auction ended, Lu Ping calmly followed the crowd out of the auction house. As expected, there were many suspicious cultivators outside the auction house, looking left and right at the cultivators who participated in the auction. Lu Ping's calmness didn't attract any attention. After leaving the auction house, Lu Ping still had many things to do. He purchased a large amount of low-grade and mid-grade spiritual herbs for blood-refining realm pills from the various spiritual herb stores on Dikuan Island. Lu Ping's current success rate for low-grade blood-refining realm pills was around 30%. To achieve this, Lu Ping had used up all the low-grade spiritual herbs that Xingtao's spiritual herb garden had accumulated over the past 200 years. Lu Ping planned to start refining mid-grade blood-refining realm pills when his success rate for low-grade blood-refining realm pills reached 50%. There were many spiritual herbs for mid-grade blood-refining realm pills in the spiritual herb garden, but they were only enough for a few dozen batches. Therefore, Lu Ping had no choice but to spend a large amount of spirit stones to purchase them. By the time Lu Ping had gathered enough spiritual herbs for 30 batches of low-grade blood refining realm pills and 20 batches of mid-grade blood refining realm pills, he had spent nearly 1,000 spirit stones. When Lu Ping returned to Xianqi Island, he immediately heard about an incident. The eldest son of Xianling sect's Qiao family, Qiao Shipeng, had led 2 of his family's cultivators to the sea between Xianling sect and Jinling Island to avenge his brother. They discovered the sea snake monster that had killed 5 Xianling sect cultivators at the Reef Island and engaged in a fierce battle. In the end, one of the Qiao family's early blood condensation realm cultivators died and the other was gravely injured. The sea snake monster also escaped with heavy injuries. Since the incident took place in the area closest to Huangli Island, Lu Ping was summoned by Master Immortal Lu the moment he returned to Xianqi Island. "I've already skinned the sea snake monster and pulled out its flesh. Why is there another one?" Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Lu Ping went to Master Immortal Lu's cultivation room. When Master Immortal Lu saw Lu Ping, he smiled and said, "Not bad. Your cultivation has improved a lot. I thought you would be the 4th blood condensation realm cultivator in Group 7, but it seems like I've underestimated you." Lu Ping quickly bowed and said, "It's all thanks to Master Immortal Lu's guidance." Master Immortal Lu smiled and said, "Let's skip the formalities. I called you here because of the battle between our sect and Xianling sect. I believe you've heard about it." Seeing that Lu Ping nodded, Master Immortal Lu continued, "It's normal for cultivators to fight to the death. However, this incident is related to the sea snake monster that killed Xianling sect's disciples at the Reef Island. Not only does it involve Jinling sect, but more importantly, it also involves the distant sea monster clans. We have no choice but to be vigilant." Seeing that Lu Ping was listening attentively, Master Immortal Lu was very satisfied. He continued, "Both incidents happened very close to your Huangli Island, so you need to pay special attention. I'm afraid that Xianling sect's Qiao clan will not let this matter rest. They will enter Huangli Island's waters to search for the sea snake monster that escaped." Lu Ping was shocked. "Xianling sect thinks that the sea snake monster escaped to my Jinling sect's waters?" Master Immortal Lu said, "We have to be careful. If that's the case, I, Jinling, will have to step in and punish them for trespassing into our territory without permission." After a short pause, Master Immortal Lu took out a talisman and handed it to Lu Ping. Lu Ping knew that this was a voice transmission talisman made by a blood condensation cultivator. Master Immortal Lu said, "We need to increase the number of sea patrols in the near future, especially the area between Huangli Island and Xianling sect. If you find anything, tear this voice transmission talisman. I and the other Master Immortals from Xianqi Island will rush over as soon as possible." Huangli Island was still as peaceful as ever. Lu Ping also started his necessary work, planting spiritual grains in the 7 mu of spiritual fields. Thanks to Lu Ping's new spirit urging technique, the spiritual grain's growth cycle was shortened from 3 months to 2 months. This also gave Lu Ping a new source of income. He persisted in refining pills. With the support of a large amount of spiritual herbs, Lu Ping finally made some progress. Other than the fixed cultivation time, Lu Ping had another task: sea patrols. In fact, the island's master immortals had the duty to patrol the sea. It was just that the frequency and method of the patrols were not limited. But this time, it was different. Chapter 52. Lu Ping's peaceful cultivation life was soon disrupted. About a month later, some fishermen reported to Lu Ping that 50 miles south of Huangli Island, the fishermen had spotted a sea beast that was more than 10 feet long swimming in the sea. Recently, the fishermen on Huangli Island did not dare to fish in that area. 50 miles south is the island where Sheng Tao's cave abode is located. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. It seems like this sea snake has sensed something. When Master Immortal Lu gave him the mission, Lu Ping suspected that this sea snake was the companion of the previous sea snake. Now, the fisherman's report confirmed Lu Ping's guess. This sea snake must have some kind of secret technique that allowed it to track the location of the previous sea snake and discover where it died. Lu Ping carefully recalled what happened in Sheng Tao's cave abode and confirmed that he did not leave any clues behind. Fortunately, this sea snake appeared and fought with Qiao Shipeng, who was investigating the cause of his brother's death. This inadvertently confirmed the theory that the Xianling sect disciple was killed by the sea snake. The Qiao family cultivators had already given up on investigating Qiao Shixian's death and focused on killing the sea snake. This inadvertently allowed Lu Ping to escape the Qiao family's suspicion. The next day, Lu Ping went to the island and placed 2 sets of warning talismans around the island to monitor the sea snake that might appear in this area. In fact, Lu Ping was secretly hoping for a fluke. Maybe I can kill this sea snake demon here. This was not impossible. Lu Ping had already learned from Master Immortal Lu that this sea snake had been severely injured by the Qiao family cultivators. For this, the Qiao family had paid the price of 1 dead and 1 injured. This sea snake was at most on par with the one from last time. Last time, he was able to kill a severely injured sea snake demon in a hurry. This time, it was also a severely injured sea snake demon. If he was unprepared, he would definitely be able to kill it. Moreover, compared to a few months ago, whether it was his cultivation or magic tools, he had made significant progress. Not to mention that he still had a talisman treasure as a trump card. Previously, after Lu Ping killed the blood condensation realm sea snake demon, he obtained a huge benefit. This time, Lu Ping subconsciously didn't want the sect's elders to get their hands on these benefits. After placing dozens of landmine talismans on the island, Lu Ping began to wait for the hare to come to him. Half a day later, when Lu Ping was still paying attention to the sea surface 3,000 to 4,000 feet away, a long, sad and angry howl suddenly came from the sea surface several miles away from the island. Then, Lu Ping suddenly felt his whole body tense up, as if cold water had been poured over him from head to toe. The spirit sealing talisman and invisibility talisman suddenly became useless. The sea serpent had arrived. Lu Ping was shocked and angry at the same time. The sea serpent seemed to have calculated his location. He saw a long white wave rising from the sea surface, heading straight in his direction. The warning talismans that he placed on the sea surface earlier suddenly became useless. Lu Ping suddenly came to a realization. This sea snake demon was able to track the dead sea snake demon all the way here. He had personally skinned the dead sea snake demon, so this sea snake demon would naturally be able to recognize him as the murderer. Lu Ping didn't have the time to regret now. The 100-foot-long sea snake monster raised its huge head high and glared at Lu Ping with a cold glint in its eyes. Although Lu Ping had a few ways to escape, it wasn't easy for him to come across one. He didn't plan on running away without a fight. No matter what, he had to weigh his options. Moreover, he had experience fighting against blood condensation realm experts. More importantly, Lu Ping noticed that the aura of this heavily injured sea snake demon was not as strong as the previous one. This was a level 3 blood condensation realm demonic beast. Although it had broken through his previous series of traps, Lu Ping still had a chance. A black stone tower rose up and circled above Lu Ping's head. Yellow light screens extended and extended from the eaves of the tower, as if they would fall down at any time, protecting Lu Ping within. Lu Ping held the flying sword in his hand and faced the approaching sea snake demon. The sea snake demon's angry roars did not turn into attacks. This was a demonic beast that was so calm that it made Lu Ping's heart palpitate. A huge pressure rushed towards Lu Ping. The sea snake's divine sense penetrated Lu Ping's body like water, as if it was trying to see through all of his secrets. The restless magic power finally burst out. Clumps of seawater unimaginably flowed upward, forming a thick and transparent wall of water in front of the sea snake monster. The sea snake monster's figure was faintly discernible on the other side of the wall of water. Lu Ping's expression finally changed. He retreated without hesitation. However, it was too late. The towering water wall collapsed, and a huge wave came crashing towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping, who had nowhere to retreat, had no choice but to defend the stone tower on the reef. He allowed the waves to hit him, but the price he had to pay was that Lu Ping's arcane energy flowed into the stone tower like water. Even though the stone tower was faintly discernible in the waves, it still stood tall. This surprised the sea snake demon. A human cultivator in the blood-refining realm had such a strong arcane energy. Lu Ping was already regretting his carelessness. The last thing he wanted was to face a situation where arcane energy was the deciding factor. However, the sea snake demon seemed to have seen through Lu Ping's intentions. It immediately attacked with a large area of effect, making it impossible for Lu Ping to dodge. Under the swaying stone tower in the huge waves, a sword light flashed like a waterfall, shooting in the direction of the sea snake demon. The waves along the way were split apart by the surging magic power. Lu Ping had to change the current battle of attrition, so he chose to attack. A trace of contempt flashed across the sea snake demon's eyes. However, the power contained in the flying swallow sword made it turn serious. Could it be that this human cultivator really killed its partner? Impossible. Although this human cultivator was in the blood-refining realm, he was still far from being able to kill its fourth-layer blood condensation realm partner. This human cultivator must have seen its partner's corpse before, or he was an accomplice of the blood condensation realm human cultivator who killed its partner. In any case, this human cultivator had to use his life as a sacrifice for its partner. A wave of seawater soared into the sky and turned into a water sword. It collided with the flying swallow sword. Chi! The water sword was shattered, and the flying swallow sword returned to its original position. Lu Ping initially hoped that the attack would distract the sea snake monster, lessening the pressure on him and allowing him to escape from the waves' onslaught. However, the sea snake demon's control of water was extraordinary. Its arcane energy in the blood condensation realm was also incomparable to that of a blood-refining realm cultivator. Lu Ping had miscalculated. Just as Lu Ping's mind raced, trying to think of a way to escape, a long howl came from afar. Before Lu Ping could react, a sword ray had already sliced through the air and flew towards him. Chapter 53. Just as Lu Ping heard the whistling sound and was wondering if the attacker was friend or foe, a ray of sword light pierced through the air and appeared behind Lu Ping. This attack was filled with killing intent and accompanied by the whistling sound. It was no different from a sneak attack, treating both Lu Ping and the sea snake demon as prey. As Lu Ping cried out in shock, the light barrier around the stone tower was cut into pieces by the sword light. The flying swallow sword that he had just recalled was knocked away before he could use it. Lu Ping only had time to throw out 2 supreme-grade talismans before his body was cut by the sword light. Like a kite with its string cut, he fell towards the sea in front of him, spitting out a mouthful of blood that seemed to form a bright red mist on the surface of the sea. Facing the oncoming sword light, the sea snake demon let out a long hiss, as if it was familiar with the attacker and hated it very much. A forked snake-tongue sword flew out of the sea snake demon's mouth, drawing a deep blue arc in the air and colliding with the oncoming white sword light. Intense rumbling sounds rang out, causing the seawater to surge in waves several meters high, crashing onto the reef island. When the waves calmed down a little, only angry roars of pain could be heard on the surface of the sea. The sea snake demon's body kept tumbling, creating layers of ripples on the surface of the sea. There was a wound several inches deep on the sea snake demon's body. Although it wasn't a fatal blow, the gurgling blood still caused severe damage to the sea snake demon. At the same time, there were several old wounds on the sea snake demon's body, most likely from the battle with Xian Ling Sec's Qiao family. Its cold, snake-like eyes stared intently at the tall figure standing before it, a furious killing intent radiating out from its eyes. This was the human cultivator who had led a group of cultivators to ambush it back then. It had managed to kill off one of the cultivators and grievously wound the other. After breaking out from the encirclement, it ended up suffering from grievous wounds. Not to mention, this young human cultivator was constantly pursuing it. With great difficulty, the sea snake demon finally shook off the pursuers and used a secret technique to follow its partner's aura to this reef island, discovering that this was the place where its partner was killed. The sea snake demon had been lying in ambush here for 3 days, hoping that the murderer who killed its partner would show up here. Not long after Lu Ping appeared, the sea snake demon discovered him and used a secret technique to confirm that Lu Ping was the murderer it was looking for. Furious, the sea snake demon launched an attack on Lu Ping. However, it didn't expect this puny blood-refining realm cultivator to be so difficult to deal with. Even though the sea snake demon was heavily injured and could only use 70% of its strength, it wasn't something a blood-refining realm cultivator could withstand. Yet, this human cultivator managed to block it. What was even more hateful was that the blood condensation realm cultivator that he had shaken off previously had actually chased after him and attacked him again. The young cultivator standing in the air in front of the sea snake was the eldest son of Xian Ling Sec's Qiao family, Qiao Shipeng, the elder brother of senior martial brother Qiao who was killed earlier. Qiao Shipeng had a deep relationship with his brother. When he heard that his brother had been killed by the sea snake monster, he brought 2 guards from his family to seek revenge for his brother. Sure enough, when they were close to Jinling, they found another sea snake demon looking for its partner. Qiao Shipeng, who didn't know the truth, naturally thought that this sea snake demon was the murderer of his brother and attacked it. Little did he know that this sea snake demon was actually a green sea snake. This type of spirit snake had a noble bloodline and was the strongest among the monster clans of the same level. After a fierce battle, one of the Qiao family's guards died and the other was injured. Fortunately, he managed to severely injure the spirit snake at the last moment and chased after it. In fact, when he first encountered this spirit snake, Qiao Shipeng's heart was already burning with desire. The green sea snake was a noble among the monster clans. If he could kill it and obtain the condensed blood bead from its heart, his chances of breaking through to the 3rd layer of the blood-refining realm would greatly increase. Moreover, his strength would be ranked among the top among the cultivators of the same level. The greedy Qiao Shipeng had long placed the thought of avenging his brother's death as his second priority. This was also the reason why he chased after the green sea snake for several days even though he wasn't at an absolute advantage in terms of strength. If he returned to his family and asked for help, not only would the spirit snake escape, but even if he managed to kill it, he wouldn't be able to keep the condensed blood bead for himself. After 3 days of chasing, Qiao Shipeng thought that the green sea snake had already escaped. Just when he was about to give up, he suddenly heard the hissing of the spirit snake. At the same time, he could feel the fluctuations of arcane energy and the roar of spells. Overjoyed, Qiao Shipeng sneaked to a place near the reef island and discovered that the spirit snake was actually confronting a Jinling blood-refining realm disciple. It seemed that the spirit snake was indeed an arrow at the end of its flight. Otherwise, it wouldn't be unable to kill a blood-refining realm disciple. Jinling was an enemy sect, and the spirit snake was something that he coveted. Naturally, he would kill both of them together. After Qiao Shipeng's attack, he realized that the spirit snake wasn't as weak as he had imagined. In other words, Jinling's disciple wasn't an ordinary blood-refining realm disciple. Qiao Shipeng's heart skipped a beat. He released his divine sense and probed the place where Lu Ping had sunk into the sea. When he discovered that Lu Ping was already a lifeless corpse, he finally relaxed. How could an ordinary Jinling blood-refining realm disciple withstand a full-powered attack from a blood condensation realm cultivator? It seemed like the spirit snake was just a cat toying with a mouse. It didn't expect that he would be the Oriole behind it. Qiao Shipeng smiled and focused all his attention on the spirit snake in front of him. The flying sword in Qiao Shipeng's hand was a mid-grade mystic artifact. Only when a cultivator reached the blood condensation realm would they be able to unleash the full power of a mystic artifact. Therefore, when cultivators of the same level fought, the quality of the mystic artifact was no longer the main deciding factor. Instead, it depended on the amount of arcane energy used to unleash the full power of the mystic artifact. When a blood condensation realm cultivator used the full power of a mid-grade mystic artifact against a cultivator of the same level who couldn't unleash the full power of a high-grade mystic artifact, the former would usually win. Qiao Shipeng was using the Profound Spirit Sky Illusion Sword technique that only Xian Ling sect's inner disciples could learn. It focused on the speed and unpredictability of the flying sword, catching the opponent off guard and killing them in a single strike. Under Qiao Shipeng's control, a ray of sword light shone brightly like a white piece of silk wrapped around the spirit snake. It slowly tightened, binding the spirit snake within. The green sea snake was the darling of the sea. It was born with a talent for water spells. This spirit snake's water spells had even reached the stage of force. Taking advantage of the geographical advantage, every spell the spirit snake cast felt like it had merged with the sea. It made Qiao Shipeng feel like he was fighting against the sea. The spirit snake's snake-tongue sword and venomous fang dagger swam among the water spells, constantly resisting Qiao Shipeng's flying sword. Occasionally, the spirit snake would break through the encirclement of the flying sword and attack Qiao Shipeng. However, the attacks would be blocked by Qiao Shipeng's other shield. If it wasn't for the fact that Qiao Shipeng heavily injured it earlier, he wouldn't be a match for this sea snake. Chapter 54. Lu Ping lay quietly at the bottom of the sea, not moving an inch. He anxiously watched the battle between Qiao Shipeng and the sea snake demon through the warning talismans he placed in the sea. When Lu Ping was attacked, Lu Ping had already guessed that the attacker was Xian Ling sect's Qiao Shipeng. When Lu Ping was struck to the bottom of the sea, he was protected by the stone tower and the flying swallow sword. The two top-grade blood charms also weakened the sword rays a little. But even so, if he were an ordinary 9th-layer blood-refining realm cultivator, he wouldn't have survived. Fortunately, Lu Ping had a mid-grade inner armor made from the sea snake demon's skin. This armor blocked more than half of the remaining sword light's power. The remaining sword light was no longer a threat to Lu Ping's life. Moreover, during this period of time, Lu Ping and De Bao had been eating the sea snake demon's meat. Demonic beasts' bodies were much stronger than humans, not to mention the green sea snake's meat. Therefore, Lu Ping's body was greatly strengthened. Even so, Lu Ping was still severely injured. This allowed him to clearly experience the power of a blood condensation realm cultivator. At the same time, Lu Ping's gradually lost respect for blood condensation realm cultivators after killing the sea snake demon last time was restored. Compared to an ordinary blood condensation realm cultivator, he was still far from it. After calming down, Lu Ping knew that the most important thing now was to stay alive. As he sank to the bottom of the sea, Lu Ping quickly placed a few spirit-sealing talismans on his body, disguising himself as a dead body. At the same time, he stuffed 2 supreme-grade vitality recovery pills worth a few hundred spirit stones into his mouth. As expected, just as Lu Ping sank to the bottom of the sea, a divine sense slowly enveloped his body like a cold spring. Lu Ping lay motionlessly on the bottom of the sea. The depth of the sea and the spirit-sealing talismans on his body tightly sealed all the spiritual energy fluctuations in Lu Ping's body. Qiao Shipeng's divine sense flashed away, and Lu Ping heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he observed the fight on the sea through the warning talisman. This was Lu Ping's first time witnessing a battle between blood condensation cultivators at such a close distance. It was a feast for his eyes, and at the same time, he felt that he had learned a lot. The sea snake demon's innate water element technique showed Lu Ping a whole new realm. Lu Ping felt that he wasn't too far away from this realm. This should be the realm of force. Initially, Lu Ping wanted to use the voice transmission talisman that Master Immortal Lu left for him. Unfortunately, this talisman was crafted by a blood condensation realm expert. If he activated it, the powerful energy fluctuations would definitely alert the two parties fighting on the surface of the sea. If that happened, Lu Ping would be killed before Master Immortal Lu and the others could arrive. Lu Ping thought to himself that he couldn't pin all his hopes on playing dead. He had to make preparations in advance. So, after thinking for a moment, he took out a few items from his storage pouch. On the surface of the sea, the battle between the green sea snake and Qiao Shipeng had reached a critical juncture. At this time, the spirit snake had suffered a few more wounds on its body. Its body was drenched in blood, dyeing the surrounding sea a light red. The enraged spirit serpent once again began to churn the sea, but Qiao Shipeng only sneered with an excited expression. His hand was completely unaffected as he tightly surrounded the spirit serpent with his flying sword, searching for an opening. The spirit snake's roar did not bring about a turning point. Instead, its anger made the spirit snake lose its cool. Qiao Shipeng took the opportunity to stab the spirit snake twice with his flying sword. Seeing that the spirit snake was about to run out of magic power and was about to be killed, the cold eyes of the spirit snake suddenly revealed a look of reluctance and determination. These two feelings were originally contradictory, but they appeared very harmonious in the spirit snake's eyes. The front half of the spirit snake's body suddenly stood up, and a dull sound came from its body. The spirit snake's body trembled rapidly, and it let out an earth-shattering roar of pain. The silver scales on its body were suddenly dyed with a layer of red. The wounds that had been soaked in seawater due to excessive blood loss suddenly turned red, and a large amount of blood began to ooze out. At the same time, the spirit snake's aura soared, and the magic power in its body surged, as if it had suddenly returned to its peak state. The thick snake tail swept over and smashed against the magic shield protecting Qiao Shipeng's body, smashing the careless Qiao Shipeng into the sea. When the pale-faced Qiao Shipeng flew out of the sea, the spirit snake's water element magic wrapped around the two magic tools and pushed away the sword light formed by Qiao Shipeng's flying sword bit by bit. The two magic tools continuously broke through the sword light's obstruction and attacked Qiao Shipeng. For a moment, Qiao Shipeng was caught off guard and was flustered. Qiao Shipeng cried out in shock, self-detonating condensed blood bead. His voice was filled with panic and anger. Lu Ping knew that self-detonating a condensed blood bead was a very serious secret technique. The condensed blood bead was the foundation of a blood condensation realm cultivator. Every time a blood condensation realm cultivator advanced, a condensed blood bead would be condensed in their heart. Each condensed blood bead was the source of a blood condensation realm cultivator's magic power and the foundation of their cultivation. Self-detonating a condensed blood bead was the price of sacrificing the condensed blood bead in the heart in exchange for a temporary surge of magic power. It was a method to fight with one's life. After self-detonating a few condensed blood beads, one's cultivation would drop by a few layers. Furthermore, the damaged foundation would take several times longer to recover. Using this secret technique was equivalent to giving up on the possibility of improving one's cultivation in the future. Although the spirit snake's counterattack was fierce, it was at a great disadvantage. Right now, it was only a tie. However, there was a time limit to the secret technique. Once the time limit was up, the spirit snake would be at Lu Ping's mercy. Qiao Shipeng clearly understood this as well. He gradually calmed down from his previous panic. He didn't want to win, but he wanted to avoid making mistakes. He slowly dragged out the time. The spirit snake roared angrily as Qiao Shipeng dragged out the time. The pressure on its body gradually weakened, and the despair in its eyes became more and more intense. On the contrary, Qiao Shipeng was no longer as excited as when he was about to win. Lu Ping thought about it and understood that Qiao Shipeng was not only here to avenge his brother, but also for the spirit snake's condensed blood beads. Unfortunately, the spirit snake had used the secret technique, so he didn't know how many condensed blood beads were left. Naturally, he felt depressed. As Qiao Shipeng's flying sword pierced through the spirit snake's body, the exhausted spirit snake's huge body finally collapsed. It smashed into the sea, creating waves that were tens of feet high. Only then did Qiao Shipeng show some joy. He used a spell and dragged the spirit snake's corpse to the reef island. Qiao Shipeng used the flying sword to cut open the spirit snake's skin, revealing its heart. After cutting open the heart, two sparkling condensed blood beads appeared. Fortunately, it only self-detonated one condensed blood bead. At that moment, something strange happened. The originally dead spirit snake suddenly raised its head and stared coldly at Qiao Shipeng. Its eyes revealed complete madness. Qiao Shipeng was startled and was at a loss. At that moment, a condensed blood bead suddenly bounced up and flew towards Qiao Shipeng. Qiao Shipeng seemed to suddenly understand something. He cried out and hurriedly raised his defensive shield. However, it was too late. The condensed blood bead shrank inwards and suddenly exploded. A red light exploded in all directions, causing half of the reef island to explode. The seawater was pushed back by the force of the explosion by tens of feet. Then, the seawater surged back and formed huge waves that were tens of feet high, like a tsunami. Chapter 55. Qiao Shipeng's mid-grade mystic artifact shield was shattered by the blood beads. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was thrown far away. His clothes were torn and tattered, and he looked extremely pathetic. The heavily injured Qiao Shipeng couldn't care less about the spirit snake anymore. He quickly took out a few jade bottles from his storage pouch and took out a few pills. But just as he was about to put the pills into his mouth, he was stunned. He didn't know when, but a 3-foot and 3-inch large iron stamp had already risen above his head. The dark iron stamp covered the sky above Qiao Shipeng's head, and the power flowing in the iron stamp had painted the two characters landslide on the bottom of the stamp with streams of dark and ferocious light. Qiao Shipeng couldn't care less about the pills that were about to enter his mouth because the landslide was already crashing down on him. Qiao Shipeng let out a scream. It was too late to dodge the landslide, so he could only take it head-on. Even though his shield was already broken, a blood condensation realm cultivator still had more than that. A mid-grade mystic artifact in the shape of a tree crown flew out from Qiao Shipeng's storage pouch. It turned into a huge tree above Qiao Shipeng, shielding him under it. However, there was only a creaking sound as the branches of the tree were all crushed by the landslide. The trunk of the tree was also on the verge of collapse, like a roof beam that could collapse at any time. Qiao Shipeng saw that half of his magic tool had been smashed in an instant, and the magic power he had poured out seemed to have hit an iron wall. The rebounding magic power caused his pale face to immediately turn red, and bursts of tightness in his chest made him feel very uncomfortable. Qiao Shipeng roared in exasperation, "High-grade mystic artifact. Which shameless bastard attacked me? Aren't you afraid that my Qiao family and Xianling sect will come after you?" As soon as Qiao Shipeng finished speaking, a light sound came from the sea. Lu Ping had already flown up to the reef island. At the same time, he waved his hands, and dozens of top-grade blood talismans flew towards Qiao Shipeng. Qiao Shipeng saw a young cultivator in his late teens leaping out of the water. It was the blood-refining realm cultivator he had ambushed earlier. "It's you. You're still alive." At this moment, dozens of talismans turned into spells and exploded around Qiao Shipeng, causing the protective light around him to tremble. Qiao Shipeng sneered, "What a joke. What can these blood-refining realm toys do?" As soon as Qiao Shipeng's voice fell, he heard a loud crack. The big tree that was on the verge of collapse finally could not bear the burden and broke completely. "Bastard!" As soon as Qiao Shipeng cursed, he spat out a mouthful of blood. This Xianling little bastard actually used a talisman to disperse his magic power, and then destroyed his magic tool. However, Qiao Shipeng guessed wrong again. Relying on the last bit of support from the big tree magic tool, Qiao Shipeng barely escaped from the landslide. Just as he was about to catch his breath, he saw the little Xianling holding a jade talisman in his hand. The talisman was shining with a golden light, as if it was about to burst out. Treasure talisman. Damn it! The real purpose of this little bastard's dozens of talismans was to cover him from activating the treasure talisman. Qiao Shipeng flipped his hand, and a silver jade talisman appeared in his hand. It was actually a treasure talisman. Qiao Shipeng desperately channeled his magic power into the talisman, but after a long period of fighting, coupled with his heavily injured body, his magic power was already on the verge of drying up. Lu Ping's treasure talisman finally finished activating. A golden light rushed out from the jade talisman, condensing into a golden short spear above Lu Ping, and piercing towards Qiao Shipeng. When Qiao Shipeng saw the golden short spear, it was as if he had seen a ghost. He angrily said, "Why do you have a golden spear treasure talisman? Are you the one who killed my brother?" As soon as he finished speaking, he hastily activated the treasure talisman in his hand. A silver light soared into the sky, turning into an ordinary sword light that slashed towards the golden short spear. The two collided in an instant, but there was no sound. Only the aftermath of the spell slashed the remaining half of the reef island into pieces. Lu Ping, on the other hand, was shocked. It wasn't because Qiao Shipeng also had a talisman treasure. Even his brother had one. As his brother, the eldest son of the Qiao clan, it wasn't surprising for a blood condensation realm cultivator to have a talisman treasure. Lu Ping didn't expect Qiao Shipeng to have enough time to activate the treasure talisman. Even though he couldn't fully activate it due to his injuries, Qiao Shipeng was still a blood condensation realm cultivator. Lu Ping looked over and saw that the treasure talisman in Qiao Shipeng's hand was glowing. There were actually 3 spiritual halos. This was a talisman made by a core forging realm cultivator. No wonder it could block the golden spear treasure talisman. The golden spear treasure talisman only had 1 spiritual halo. It was made by a core forging realm cultivator. Fortunately, Lu Ping didn't stop there. He raised his hands and 2 red low-grade flying swords shot towards Qiao Shipeng. Qiao Shipeng had already calmed down from the shock of discovering his brother's murderer. When he saw Lu Ping using a low-grade magic tool to fight him, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Are you finally at your wits' end? Today, your master Qiao will kill you and avenge my brother." As soon as he finished speaking, the mid-grade flying sword he used to fight the spirit snake slashed at Lu Ping's 2 red flying swords. When the 2 swords collided, the red flying sword suddenly exploded. The huge explosion also blew Qiao Shipeng's flying sword into 2. Qiao Shipeng shouted, "Despicable," and raised his head. This time, Qiao Shipeng, who was already seriously injured, couldn't get up. The mid-grade flying sword was Qiao Shipeng's natal magic tool. The so-called natal magic weapon was a weapon forged by a cultivator according to their own cultivation method and physique. It was a weapon that was connected to the cultivator's mind. This kind of weapon would continuously improve along with the cultivator's cultivation. It was a cultivator's most tyrannical final trump card. The seriously injured Qiao Shipeng only wanted to kill Lu Ping as soon as possible, so he used his last ability. He didn't expect that the cunning Lu Ping would use a blood sacrifice magic tool to self-destruct. With his natal magic tool destroyed, Qiao Shipeng's already seriously injured body finally collapsed like the straw that broke the camel's back. Lu Ping calculated step by step and Qiao Shipeng finally fell into his trap. The cautious Lu Ping didn't step forward. Instead, he used the flying swallow sword to decapitate Qiao Shipeng. Only then did he feel at ease and take his storage bag. Lu Ping wanted to take the blood beads from Qiao Shipeng's heart, but he didn't want to dissect a human body. The reason why he cut open the sea snake demon's heart was because it was a demonic beast, not a human. Lu Ping thought about it and burned Qiao Shipeng's body. In the end, only the magic power contained in the 3 blood beads was left, which Lu Ping put into his storage bag. After Lu Ping finished cleaning up the corpse, he turned around and found that the dying sea snake demon had disappeared. Chapter 56. Actually, when Lu Ping attacked Qiao Shipeng, he had already sensed the sea snake monster's departure. The reason why neither of them stopped it, nor did they guard against the possibility of the sea snake monster sneaking up on them, was because both of them knew that the sea snake monster no longer had any arcane energy left. The secret technique and the self-detonation of the blood orbs had already exhausted the sea snake monster's life force. Furthermore, when the sea snake monster left, it left a large trail of blood in the sea, pointing in its direction. Hence, both of them intended to kill the sea snake monster first, then collect its corpse. Lu Ping chased after the blood trail left by the sea snake monster, heading southwest. Lu Ping chased after the sea snake monster for nearly 100 li before gradually closing in on the sea snake monster. Lu Ping didn't know what made the sea snake monster go so far even though it knew it was going to die. However, Lu Ping had seen the whole process of the battle between Qiao Shipeng and the sea snake monster. He knew that the sea snake monster was quite intelligent. Even in such a disadvantageous situation, it was still able to injure Qiao Shipeng. In the end, it ended up benefiting him. Hence, the closer Lu Ping got to the sea snake monster, the more cautious he became. Not to mention, he was already deep in Xianling sect's territory. By now, Lu Ping had already dived for more than 40 zhang. The strong water pressure had already caused Lu Ping's arcane energy to run out. He was only 7 to 8 zhang away from the bottom of the sea. Lu Ping could already see the sea snake monster's curled-up corpse, but he couldn't reach it. Lu Ping saw a 1 zhang wide cave behind the sea snake monster. It was probably its nest. Could it be that there was something in the nest that the sea snake monster couldn't bear to part with? Why did it return to guard the nest even when it was on the brink of death? This sea snake monster was obviously the companion of the sea snake monster he killed last time. Could it be that the nest contained the eggs of the two snake monsters' offspring? As he thought of this, Lu Ping's heart burned with passion. However, this short distance of 7 to 8 feet made Lu Ping flinch. Lu Ping was vexed. It seemed like he could only enter the lair after he had successfully condensed his blood. Or perhaps, he would have to find some kind of magical artifact specifically for diving. Fortunately, they were at the bottom of the sea, and the seawater blocked the detection of divine sense. Unless it was a core forging stage Taoist master who specifically searched here, or other cultivators who specifically dived into the sea, ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to find. When Lu Ping emerged from the sea, he memorized the location of this area and hurried back to Huangli Island. If he was discovered by Xianling sect's patrolling cultivators, it would be troublesome. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since they returned to Huangli Island. In the cultivation room, Lu Ping was playing with an exquisite storage bag in his hand. It was Qiao Shipeng's belongings. This was the second time Lu Ping had obtained a storage bag from a blood condensation cultivator. The first time was when he found an exquisite storage bag in Shengtao's cave. A blood condensation cultivator's storage bag usually had a small array formation built on the mouth of the bag using their divine sense. Qiao Shipeng's storage bag was no exception. Such a storage bag could only be opened by the owner. If it was forcefully opened, it would damage most of the things inside the storage bag. Sheng Tao didn't set up an array formation at the mouth of the storage bag because of his inheritance. Therefore, after Lu Ping returned, he had to spend half a month to wear down the array formation at the mouth of the storage bag. Fortunately, Qiao Shipeng was dead, and Lu Ping was finally able to open the storage bag completely. It was another harvest moment. Lu Ping cheered himself up. This time, he had suffered heavy losses from the battle with Qiao Shipeng. Not to mention the 300 to 400 spirit stones worth of top-grade blood talismans, the 2 blood-sacrificed flying swords that cost another 300 to 400 spirit stones, the stone tower that was heavily damaged by Qiao Shipeng's attack, and it would cost nearly 200 spirit stones to repair. The 2 sets of warning talismans and a set of mother-child earth lightning talismans were worth about 500 to 600 spirit stones. There were also 2 top-grade healing pills and spiritual energy replenishing pills. In total, Lu Ping had lost 2,000 spirit stones, and this was not including the cultivation time he had wasted due to his severe injuries. This caused Lu Ping to suck in a breath of cold air. The outcome of a battle between cultivators was not only determined by the level of cultivation, but also by wisdom and courage. At the same time, wealth was also indispensable. Fortunately, Lu Ping's plan was appropriate, and he had successfully killed Xiao Shipeng. Lu Ping quickly opened the storage bag. First, there were 24 mid-grade spirit stones and more than 300 low-grade spirit stones. In total, there were nearly 2,800 low-grade spirit stones. In a short while, this was enough to compensate for Lu Ping's losses, and there was still a lot left. After the auction, Lu Ping's wealth had shrunk to a great extent. At least his luxurious cultivation would not be interrupted by the problem of spirit stones. The harvest of the magic tools was pitifully small. One of Xiao Shipeng's mid-grade magic tools had been destroyed by the sea snake monster's blood beads, and 2 were broken by Lu Ping. Xiao Shipeng only had a mid-grade short spear left, which should be a spare. In addition, there were 2 low-grade magic tools, which Lu Ping naturally did not want. Originally, Lu Ping was wondering if Xiao Shipeng would have a high-grade magic tool, but he was naturally disappointed. But after thinking about it carefully, Lu Ping understood the reason behind it. Not to mention the fact that high-grade mystic instruments were much rarer than mid-grade mystic instruments, it was also because Lu Ping was lucky enough to obtain a sufficient amount of high-quality dark iron. In addition, Landslide had a good foundation and the superb craftsmanship of Old Chen and his son. All of these factors allowed Landslide to barely reach the standard of a high-grade mystic instrument. When a cultivator's cultivation reached the blood condensation realm, due to the transformation of their magic power and the emergence of divine sense, they could fully utilize the power of magic tools. However, due to the restriction of the cultivator's own cultivation, mid-grade magic tools were more powerful than high-grade magic tools when used by early blood condensation realm cultivators. After understanding the reason, Lu Ping looked at the few jade slips on the ground. After looking through them one by one, Lu Ping finally discovered something. One of the jade slips recorded Xiao Shipeng's cultivation experience in detail, especially the process of breaking through to the blood condensation realm. Lu Ping felt like he had obtained a priceless treasure. At the same time, from the other jade slips, Lu Ping learned that the 2 dead sea snake demons were called green sea snakes. They possessed the purest Jiao bloodline and were nobles among the demon race. Although he didn't know why they built their lair in the sea region between Xianling sect and Jinling sect, Lu Ping felt that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. In fact, it might even cause a huge storm. Lu Ping chuckled. Anyway, no one knew that the 2 sea snakes' deaths were related to him. Even if the sky collapsed, there would naturally be a tall and sturdy person to hold it up. After tidying up the jade slips, Lu Ping looked through the few jade bottles that contained medicinal pills. 2 bottles were spirit energy replenishing pills, and 1 bottle was healing pills. All of them were of high quality. There were also 2 bottles of medicinal pellets. Lu Ping, who had inherited alchemist Sheng Tao's legacy, recognized them as the 1000 ginseng pellet. It was a type of medicinal pellet used by early blood condensation realm cultivators. Its effects were considered ordinary for blood condensation realm cultivators, but even so, not all blood condensation realm cultivators could use it. One had to know that even a large sect like Jinling sect in the North Sea could only allow their blood-refining realm disciples to use ordinary medicinal pills like the blood essence pill. Therefore, one could only imagine how precious and valuable the blood condensation realm's medicinal pills were. It could be said that the value of each bottle was not lower than the value of a blood condensation pill. Lu Ping thought about it for a moment. A blood condensation pill was worth about 2,000 spirit stones. If that was the case, then an ordinary early blood condensation pill would be worth 200 spirit stones. That was 10 times the value of a blood vigor pill. If he used it according to the frequency of blood refining realm cultivators. Lu Ping shuddered. He decided to leave this question to himself after he reached the blood condensation realm. At the same time, he was even more determined to learn alchemy. There was only a blue jade bottle left in front of Lu Ping. This bottle was different from the other 5. Lu Ping purposely left it last to see if he could give himself a surprise. Lu Ping gently uncorked the bottle, and a familiar fragrance wafted out. It was a blood condensation pill. Chapter 57. Lu Ping already had 2 blood-condensing pills on him. Initially, Lu Ping wanted to prepare 3 blood-condensing pills, but he failed due to the public's anger at the auction. Who would have thought that he would be able to obtain 3 blood-condensing pills from Qiao Shipeng? With 3 blood-condensing pills in hand, Lu Ping's chances of breaking through to the blood condensation realm were much higher. In a good mood, Lu Ping placed all the miscellaneous items in Qiao Shipeng's storage pouch into his own. In the following few months of cultivation, with a sufficient supply of medicinal pills, Lu Ping's progress could be described as tremendous. Finally, he reached the peak of the 9th layer at the age of 18. After spending 3 months consolidating his foundation, Lu Ping finally decided to attempt the blood condensation realm. Of course, there was something more important than the blood-condensing pills. It was the talisman treasure that Qiao Shipeng used. It was a jade talisman crafted by a 3rd-layer core forging realm enlightened master. The silver jade talisman was smooth and translucent. Inside it, 3 white halos resembled mischievous little fishes swimming about. After being used once by Qiao Shipeng, this jade talisman could only be used twice. Lu Ping still had the 1st-layer core forging realm talisman he obtained from Qiao Shipeng's younger brother, Qiao Xieying. Now, he could only use it once. However, he managed to exchange it for this silver jade talisman treasure. On this day, Lu Ping came to Xianqi Island to pay his respects to Master Immortal Lu. When Master Immortal Lu saw Lu Ping, his eyes lit up and his face lit up with joy. He praised, "Not bad, not bad. Peak of the 9th layer. Your foundation is solid. You can attempt the blood condensation realm now." Lu Ping said respectfully, "This disciple is here to officially request a leave of absence from Master Immortal Lu. I will return to True Spirit Island and prepare to enter the blood condensation realm. I hope Master Immortal Lu will agree." Master Immortal Lu chuckled and said, "It's indeed a big deal. The blood refining realm is only the preliminary stage of becoming a cultivator. Once you've taken this step, you'll finally be considered as a true cultivator and a true disciple of Zhenling's sect." Master Immortal Lu paused for a moment before continuing, "Have you made all the necessary preparations for the blood condensation realm? Have you prepared the blood condensation pills? Although those with exceptional talent can successfully condense their blood without the help of the blood condensing pill, the blood condensing pill can not only greatly increase their chances of success, but it can also strengthen their foundations. The benefits are not small." Lu Ping replied, "Disciple previously gathered 8 500-year-old spirit herbs needed to refine a blood-condensing pill. I exchanged them for a blood-condensing pill from the sect." Lu Ping naturally wouldn't reveal his background. Master Immortal Lu waved his hand and 4 wooden boxes appeared on the ground. He said, "You've been cultivating hard and have a solid foundation. I'm afraid one blood-condensing pill won't be able to completely fuse the spirit blood in your body. Recently, you've been following me in attacking and defending Xianqi Island. The sect naturally recognizes your contributions. These are 4 500-year-old spirit herbs needed to refine a blood-condensing pill. It's your reward. You'll have to figure out how to get the rest. If you gather 8, you can exchange them for a blood-condensing pill. That way, your chances of success will be higher." Lu Ping looked at the 4 wooden boxes on the ground and was overjoyed. He hurriedly thanked Master Immortal Lu. "Disciple just so happens to have a few spirit herbs needed to refine a blood-condensing pill. I was just worried that I didn't have 8. This should be enough." Master Immortal Lu looked at the pleasantly surprised Lu Ping and smiled. "I know you're quite wealthy, but don't forget the principle of not flaunting your wealth." Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. "Disciple will remember that." Master Immortal Lu continued, "I'm afraid there's going to be a storm in the sea soon. That Xianling sect's Qiao family's descendant has been running around for a while. Do they really think that I, Zhenling, don't know what they're up to? Of course, Lu Ping wouldn't tell Master Immortal Lu that Xiao Shipeng had died in his hands. However, from Master Immortal Lu's words, Xiao Shipeng must have some ulterior motive for hunting down the spirit snake. Thus, he asked, wasn't Xiao Shipeng trying to avenge his brother? Master Immortal Lu sneered. That's just a ruse. Without Xianling Sect's permission, the Qiao family wouldn't have dared to let their descendant hunt down the spirit snake alone. Do they think that I, Jinling, can't see through their ploy? The mighty Xianling sect has lost its drive and is overcautious in its actions. It's no longer befitting of a great sect. After Master Immortal Lu finished speaking, Lu Ping didn't dare to ask what Xianling sect was plotting. Instead, he asked, since the situation is tense, will it be a problem for me to leave now? Master Immortal Lu didn't seem to mind. Mind your own business. Xianling sect hasn't fallen to the point of scheming against you. Hehe, it's funny now that you mention it. Qiao Shipeng has been hunting down the spirit snake for months without any news of him. The Qiao family didn't seem to have any reaction either. Who knows, he might even be killed by the spirit snake. Lu Ping knew that his cultivation was still too low to participate in the battle between the two sections. However, when he heard Master Immortal Lu's speculation that Xiao Shipeng had been killed, he was still shocked. After that, Master Immortal Lu taught him some things to take note of when breaking through to the blood condensation realm. After that, Lu Ping took his leave. When the disciples of Group 7 heard that Lu Ping was preparing to enter seclusion to break through to the blood condensation realm, they were shocked by Lu Ping's cultivation speed. At the same time, they sent him congratulatory gifts. Spirit stones, medicinal pills, spiritual materials, and many other things. There were also some gifts from familiar cultivators from other groups. Among the more valuable gifts were Yao Yong and Du Feng's spiritual herbs for blood condensation pills. Du Feng had also successfully broken through to the blood condensation realm in the past few months. Shi Lingling's gift was the same as Yao Yong's, a blood-solidifying pill. With the 4 spiritual herbs from Master Immortal Lu, Lu Ping now had 6 spiritual herbs for the blood condensation pill. On top of that, Lu Ping also obtained 3 spiritual herbs from Qiao Shipeng. With this, Lu Ping had gathered enough spiritual herbs for the 4th blood condensation pill. Originally, Lu Ping planned to use the 5 mature spiritual herbs from Sheng Tao's spiritual herb garden to make 1 more blood condensation pill. He didn't expect that Lu Ping would receive a reward from the sect. This way, he could save 5 spiritual herbs from the spiritual herb garden. After completing the transaction with the cultivator from Group 11 who had replaced him on Huangli Island, Lu Ping returned to Zhenling's side courtyard through the transfer array. He went to Zhenling's pill store to exchange for the blood condensation pill. Lu Ping already had 4 blood condensation pills in his possession. Zhenling's side courtyard was located at the foot of Zhenling Island's Tianling Mountain. The entire mountain was Zhenling's headquarters. It was protected by the sect's protective array. The entire mountain was shrouded in a layer of clouds all year round, making it look like a paradise. This Tianling mountain was a large spirit vein. Zhenling had nurtured it for tens of thousands of years to reach its current size. This spirit vein branched off into a small branch at the foot of Tianling mountain. Zhenling used this branch to build Zhenling's side courtyard and opened up 24 cultivation rooms on the main branch of this spirit vein. These rooms were specially used for the side courtyard's disciples to enter seclusion when breaking through to the blood condensation realm. Lu Ping's luck was pretty good. When he arrived, a cultivator who had failed the blood condensation realm came out of seclusion and vacated his cultivation room. One had to know that these 24 cultivation rooms were usually highly sought after and rarely ever vacated. Lu Ping paid the blood condensation realm cultivator guarding the cultivation room, which was a maximum of half a year's worth of spirit stones. After paying a total of 500 spirit stones, he finally settled in. The cultivation room was about 2 square meters. The furnishings inside were simple. There was only a praying mat, a small bed, a bamboo chair, and a small bookshelf. There was a spirit gathering array on the ground of the cultivation room, which continuously gathered the spiritual energy from the spirit vein. Lu Ping placed the spirit gathering mat at the heart of the spirit gathering array, causing the spiritual energy in the room to gather again. Sitting on the spirit gathering mat, Lu Ping quietly sensed the dense spiritual energy gathering around him. With the blood vigor pill in his mouth, Lu Ping slowly circulated the blood condensation spirit dissolving technique. He adjusted his condition to the peak and began his final preparations for breaking through to the blood condensation realm. Chapter 58. The blood condensation spirit melting technique was the basic cultivation technique of Zhenling sect's blood refining realm cultivators. It was the culmination of dozens of generations of Zhenling sect's senior cultivators' hard work. It took into account the cultivator's foundation, talent, cultivation speed, and many other aspects. It was the cultivation technique that most Zhenling sect cultivators would choose when they were in the blood refining realm. Lu Ping circulated the blood condensation spirit dissolving technique for 36 cycles. Finally, he reached the peak of the blood refining realm in all aspects. Lu Ping swallowed a blood condensation pill. As soon as the blood condensation pill entered his mouth, it turned into a clear stream that flowed into his stomach. Immediately, an endless amount of arcane energy spread throughout his body. The arcane energy was absorbed by his blood and converted into arcane energy for Lu Ping. The magic power contained a boundless temptation, and it seemed to have ignited the 7 bloodlines in his blood. The 7 bloodlines seemed to have transformed from peaceful partners into irreconcilable gluttons, and they began to fight one another. Lu Ping suddenly felt as if his blood was boiling. Sometimes, it felt like magma was flowing through his veins, and sometimes, it felt like a cold spring was raging in his veins. Sometimes, he felt as if he was floating in the clouds, and sometimes, he felt as if he had fallen into hell. The worst part was Lu Ping's heart. It was beating chaotically as if he was drunk. A moment ago, it was steady and powerful. Now, it was like a storm. Then, it slowed down again. However, it was only pulsating slightly, as if it had gone on strike. If this happened to a mortal, they would have died dozens of times already. Lu Ping knew that this was the beginning of the blood condensation realm. It was the beginning of the transformation of life. Once he passed this stage, he would be able to live for hundreds of years. His cultivation would also be recognized by the cultivation world. That was why Lu Ping persisted. Legend had it that the ancestors of this world were 7 cultivators with profound arcane energy. They were called the 7th patriarch of creation by the later generations. These 7 people were the enlighteners and ancestors of all the cultivators in this world. All the living beings in this world were the descendants of the 7th patriarch of creation. Therefore, these living beings were born with 7 bloodlines. These 7 bloodlines were the rock bloodline, Yuan bloodline, tortoise bloodline, ape bloodline, flood dragon bloodline, tiger bloodline, and cicada bloodline. The key to becoming a cultivator and entering the blood refining realm was to successfully awaken the spirit blood in one's body. The level of one's talent depended on the amount of spirit blood in one's blood after awakening, which was the purity of one's bloodline. This degree was divided into 5 grades. Lu Ping's talent was average, and his bloodline purity was only 3rd grade. In the blood refining realm, a cultivator would use their cultivation technique to stimulate the spiritual energy in their bloodline and continuously absorb the spiritual energy from heaven and earth to strengthen themselves. When the cultivator's bloodline was strengthened to its limit, he would reach the peak of the 9th layer blood refining realm. Then, he would attempt to enter the blood condensation realm. The blood condensation realm, as the name suggested, was the process of entering the blood condensation realm. The 7 bloodlines would fight to determine the strongest bloodline, which would become the foundation bloodline of the cultivator in the future. Only then would the cultivator enter the 1st layer of the blood condensation realm. After that, the foundation bloodline would absorb the spiritual energy of the other 6 bloodlines and expel the wasted bloodlines out of the body. At the same time, after every 2 bloodlines were expelled, the cultivator would have to fuse with another bloodline with the same attribute as the foundation bloodline to make up for the lost bloodline. This was the process of cultivating the blood condensation realm. Therefore, the cultivation of the blood condensation realm was divided into 3 stages, with a total of 9 stages. Each stage was the process of expelling the wasted spirit blood in the body, and the breakthrough of the 3 stages was the process of replenishing the spirit blood in the body. This was also the reason why Qiao Shipeng was so determined to obtain the green sea snake's condensed blood bead. The condensed blood bead was the condensation of the spirit blood essence, and it contained sufficient spiritual energy. Qiao Shipeng could use it to replenish his bloodline and easily break through to the mid-blood condensation realm. At this time, the battle between the 7 bloodlines in Lu Ping's body was getting more and more intense. However, Lu Ping still felt that this level of intensity was far from Lu Ping's limit. Lu Ping knew that this was due to his relatively strong foundation. Therefore, Lu Ping put the second condensed blood pill into his mouth. A few days later, he swallowed the third condensed blood pill. At this time, Lu Ping had been in closed-door cultivation for almost a month. During this month, the chaotic battle between the bloodlines in his body caused Lu Ping to suffer greatly. Even though Lu Ping had prepared himself from Qiao Shipeng's cultivation experience, Master Immortal Lu's explanation, and Yao Yong and Du Feng's explanations, the stronger his foundation was, the more intense the battle between the bloodlines in his body became. After consuming 3 condensed blood pills in a row, the battle between the bloodlines in his body became even longer than the time it took for a normal cultivator to break through to the blood condensation realm. It could be said that the pain that Lu Ping experienced during his breakthrough was unbearable for normal cultivators. Without pain, there would be no gain. The greater the pain, the greater the gain. At this time, the battle between the bloodlines in Lu Ping's body had reached its most intense stage. The outcome of which bloodline would become his foundation bloodline would soon be revealed. At this time, Lu Ping's mind was in a state of chaos. Like a movie, some of the things that he had almost forgotten became clear again. They flashed across Lu Ping's eyes in chronological order. Lu Ping knew that this was the prelude to the blood condensation realm and the birth of the divine sense. When Lu Ping secretly watched the battle between the green sea snake and Qiao Shipeng, the scene of the green sea snake's control of water spells and the scene of the sea's waves fusing with the power of the sea suddenly appeared in Lu Ping's mind. Lu Ping suddenly had an epiphany. This epiphany allowed him to reach the realm of force in the usage of water spells just as he was about to break through to the blood condensation realm. Lu Ping had not woken up from his epiphany, but the battle between the bloodlines in his body was affected by it. Just as Lu Ping was comprehending the realm of force, a type of bloodline suddenly fused with this realm and displayed its might. It defeated the other 6 bloodlines one by one and established its position as the foundation bloodline. The battle in his body gradually calmed down. The other 6 bloodlines that had lost gathered around this bloodline, like stars surrounding the moon. The bloodline flowed through his veins and slowly synchronized with his heartbeat. At the same time, the magic energy in the foundation bloodline underwent a transformation. A large amount of spiritual energy was absorbed by the foundation bloodline. The 3 blood condensation pills contained a large amount of spiritual energy, but it was still far from enough. The spiritual energy in the cultivation room was continuously absorbed by Lu Ping's bloodline. The spirit gathering formation and spirit gathering mat on the ground continuously gathered spiritual energy from the spirit vein and sent it into Lu Ping's body. At this time, Lu Ping was like a limitless ocean, greedily absorbing every bit of spiritual energy. Outside the cultivation room, a spiritual energy whirlpool formed, attracting the attention of the blood condensation cultivators in the Zhenling side hall. Another disciple has advanced to the blood condensation realm. Not bad, not bad. There have been quite a few disciples who have advanced recently. I wonder which team's disciple it is. From the looks of it, his foundation is not bad. It's not just not bad. Such a huge spiritual energy whirlpool can be considered strong. At this time, Lu Ping naturally did not know that he had alerted the blood condensation cultivators outside. If these cultivators knew that Lu Ping could form a spiritual energy whirlpool after consuming 3 blood condensation pills, who knew what kind of reaction they would have? Chapter 59. Lu Ping, who had just woken up from his epiphany, discovered that the battle between the 7 bloodlines had already ended. His foundation bloodline had successfully taken control of his blood circulation. As his blood circulated, spiritual energy was constantly absorbed and condensed. When the spiritual energy passed through his heart, it would constantly split into strands of magic energy, opening up a space in his heart. Slowly, it would condense into a bead of blood. This was the condensed blood bead. When the bead of blood was condensed, it was the size of a soybean. As the foundation bloodline continued to condense, the size of the condensed blood bead would also increase. At this moment, Lu Ping finally came to a realization. He could now clearly see the situation within his body. This meant that Lu Ping had developed a divine sense. Lu Ping impatiently spread out his divine sense. He felt his mind become clear. Everything within the cultivation room had already entered Lu Ping's mind. Lu Ping was overjoyed. He slowly spread his divine sense out of the cultivation room. With his eyes closed, Lu Ping could clearly see everything within a radius of about 20 zhang. This shocked Lu Ping. Lu Ping understood that after a cultivator advanced to the blood condensation realm, their divine sense would generally be able to cover a radius of about 10 zhang. Even if someone was talented and had a powerful divine sense, they would only be able to cover a radius of 1 or 2 zhang. It was impossible for their divine sense to double that range. This made Lu Ping secretly happy. At the same time, he was also secretly on guard. He could not let others know that his divine sense was naturally powerful. This was already one of his trump cards. Actually, Lu Ping had his own guesses about how powerful his divine sense was. He was not a person of this world. Coming here was actually the fusion of 2 souls. Therefore, it was normal for his divine sense to be twice as strong as an ordinary person's. This could be considered a compensation for his transmigration. However, he still needed to find a method to cultivate his divine sense. This way, he could conceal the unimaginable strength of his divine sense. At the same time, he could continuously strengthen his advantage in divine sense. After making up his mind, Lu Ping focused all his attention on consolidating his spiritual energy after advancing to the blood condensation realm. The reason why Lu Ping rented this cultivation room for the longest period of time was because he needed to spend a lot of time consolidating his cultivation after breaking through to the blood condensation realm. At this time, Lu Ping already knew that his foundation bloodline was the water-type Jiao bloodline. Perhaps it was due to Lu Ping's enlightenment in the force realm. Lu Ping's water Jiao bloodline showed its might at the last moment, defeating the other 6 bloodlines and solidifying its position as his foundation bloodline. Through his divine sense, other than the water-type Jiao bloodline, Lu Ping's other 6 bloodlines were the wind element Peng bloodline, wood element Wan bloodline, water element tortoise bloodline, earth element ape bloodline, ice element tiger bloodline, and fire element cicada bloodline. Lu Ping couldn't help but smile bitterly. His luck was really bad. Only the tortoise bloodline and tiger bloodline were compatible with the Jiao bloodline. Merging these 2 bloodlines would save him a lot of time and energy. It would also be very beneficial to his cultivation. On the other hand, during the process of merging the other 4 bloodlines, not only would it take a lot of energy, a slight mistake would affect the purity of the foundation bloodline. This directly affected how far Lu Ping could go on the path of cultivation. After all, Lu Ping was aiming for longevity. Just as Lu Ping calmed down and used his divine sense to observe the circulation of the bloodlines in his body, the 7 bloodlines that were originally divided into primary and secondary bloodlines suddenly changed. The sudden change in the bloodlines caught Lu Ping off guard. The dominant Jiao bloodline suddenly attacked the tortoise bloodline. This caused the other bloodlines that had calmed down after entering the blood condensation realm to suddenly become restless. Lu Pingyuan thought that it was because he had accumulated too much energy. In addition to the 3 blood-condensing pills, the Flood Dragon bloodline in his body needed to fuse with the Turtle bloodline. This would expel the Turtle bloodline from his body, allowing him to advance directly to the 2nd level of the blood condensation realm. Although this kind of situation was rare, it wasn't unprecedented. However, Lu Ping soon discovered that he was wrong. The Jiao bloodline that provoked the Jiao bloodline didn't want to merge with the Tortoise bloodline's magic power. Instead, it wanted to completely devour the Tortoise bloodline. If merging with the Tortoise bloodline's magic power would cause the Tortoise bloodline to become useless, but the Tortoise bloodline would still exist. At the same time, the merged Foundation bloodline would more or less have some characteristics of the Tortoise bloodline. This kind of devouring would completely plunder the Tortoise bloodline's magic power without leaving any traces. In other words, Lu Ping's body would no longer have the Tortoise bloodline. This kind of overbearing devouring naturally caused the Tortoise bloodline to resist fiercely. After all, the 7 bloodlines were only fighting to determine the winner and the loser. It wasn't like now, where they were fighting to the death. Not only was the Tortoise bloodline struggling fiercely, the other 5 bloodlines also felt threatened and became restless. They seemed to be working together to resist the devouring of the Foundation bloodline. At that moment, Lu Ping suddenly felt like he was losing control of his bloodline. His divine sense and the Foundation bloodline were closely connected. Lu Ping could deeply feel that his Foundation bloodline had a mysterious power. This mysterious power existed in the Foundation bloodline with the birth of his divine sense. It was as if it was innate with his soul. Lu Ping suddenly realized that this mysterious power might have a lot to do with him coming to this world. This thought only flashed through Lu Ping's mind. Lu Ping no longer paid attention to this because the battle between the 2 bloodlines had reached a climax. Although the Foundation bloodline had the upper hand, it would not be able to devour the Tortoise bloodline in a short period of time. Even if the Foundation bloodline succeeded in devouring the Foundation bloodline, its vitality would be greatly damaged. This would affect his cultivation. As Lu Ping thought of this, he took out his last condensed blood pill and gritted his teeth. Success or failure would depend on this. After swallowing the 4th condensed blood pill, it instantly turned into surging vitality and was absorbed by the Foundation bloodline. With this boost, the Foundation bloodline's vitality increased and gradually devoured the Tortoise bloodline. Lu Ping felt the magic power in his body increase by 1-fold. The condensed blood bead in the space in his heart immediately grew from the size of a soybean to the size of a peanut. Lu Ping's every movement was accompanied by strong magic power. It was as if his words were the law. The excited Lu Ping momentarily forgot whether the bloodline mutation would bring about unknown problems. He only felt that he had never been so confident before. Very quickly, Lu Ping awoke from the excitement of the bloodline mutation. Only then did he realize that although his magic power had doubled, his cultivation had not reached the 2nd layer of the blood condensation realm. There was still only 1 condensed blood bead in the space in his heart. It was just that this condensed blood bead was a little bigger than usual. Although this situation made it so that Lu Ping had few opponents in the same realm as him, his strong foundation also meant that if Lu Ping wanted to improve his cultivation, he would need to spend much more time polishing his magic power than ordinary cultivators. Out of the 7 bloodlines, one of Lu Ping's bloodlines was gone without a breakthrough. He did not know if this would affect his cultivation in the future. There are gains and losses. At least in the long run, a strong foundation was the foundation for him to walk further on the path of immortality. However, he had to race against time. Before his lifespan ended, he had to enter the next level of cultivation and win a longer lifespan. Lu Ping could only comfort himself this way. Chapter 60. By now, Lu Ping had been in seclusion in the cultivation room for 2 months. Lu Ping spent another 2 months stabilizing his blood condensation cultivation before coming out. Lu Ping could have used the spirit vein here to cultivate for 6 months, but Lu Ping didn't have a blood condensation cultivation technique yet, so he couldn't continue. The blood condensation spirit melting scripture was an excellent cultivation technique for blood refining realm cultivators, but it wasn't suitable for blood condensation realm cultivators. Although he managed to consolidate his cultivation base in the past 2 months, he didn't make much progress. Hence, Lu Ping had no choice but to end his closed-door cultivation early. After coming out, Lu Ping was quickly brought to True Soul Side Hall's Dean, Enlightened Master Xian Yong's residence. Lu Ping didn't know if every blood condensation disciple would receive an audience with Enlightened Master Xian Yong, but this was Lu Ping's first time meeting a core forging Enlightened Master alone. Although he had seen him before, he was too far away and couldn't see him clearly. Enlightened Master Xian Yong still had that kind and amiable look on his face. When he saw Lu Ping coming forward to greet him, his eyes lit up and he laughed happily. "Isn't this the head of our side hall's famous 7 ferocious? You're indeed outstanding." "Not bad." Seeing that Enlightened Master Xian Yong was amiable, Lu Ping's nervousness from meeting a core forging Enlightened Master was forgotten. Hearing Enlightened Master Xian Yong's praise, he also laughed. "You flatter me, Enlightened Master. This disciple is slow-witted, and it's all thanks to Immortal Master Lu's strict teachings. The other seniors have also helped this junior a lot." Enlightened Master Xian Yong saw that Lu Ping's expression was at ease. He was very satisfied and said, "Lu Ziyuan is very good at leading Group 7. 3 of our third-ranked disciples have already reached the blood condensation realm. I heard that there's a female disciple in your group called Lingling who also has a high chance of reaching the blood condensation realm." Enlightened Master Xian Yong said, "Yes, senior sister Lingling is talented and has helped this junior a lot." Enlightened Master Xian Yong didn't say much about this. "Since you're already a blood condensation cultivator, you naturally have the status of an inner disciple. But remember, you can't slack off. The blood condensation realm is only the beginning of true cultivation." Enlightened Master Xian Yong then told Lu Ping some interesting stories about the cultivation world. Most of the time, it was Enlightened Master Xian Yong talking while Lu Ping listened attentively. Sometimes, Enlightened Master Xian Yong would ask Lu Ping for his opinion on certain cultivation matters. Lu Ping pondered for a moment and then told Enlightened Master Xian Yong his opinion. Enlightened Master Xian Yong didn't say anything and only nodded with a smile. Lu Ping didn't know if his answer was a test from the sect, so he could only tell the truth. In the end, Enlightened Master Xian Yong talked about Lu Ping's cultivation. He asked what kind of bloodline Lu Ping's foundation was and what element it was. After hearing Lu Ping's answer, he muttered, "The water element flood dragon bloodline. Our sect has been around for tens of thousands of years, and we have a complete set of cultivation techniques for all types of bloodlines and elements. However, there are different levels of cultivation techniques, and their characteristics are different. You have to be careful when choosing." Lu Ping's heart tightened. He knew that this was the most important part of today's conversation. He quickly asked, "Enlightened Master, please enlighten me." Enlightened Master Xian Yong smiled. "Our sect has 5 true inheritances, which are said to be able to cultivate to the Supreme Spirit Transformation realm. However, only our predecessor, Taishan Laozu, reached this realm 8,000 years ago with the mysterious ape water manipulation technique. The mysterious ape water manipulation technique is the top of the 5 inheritances. The other 4 inheritances were collected and perfected by our predecessors at great cost. In the past tens of thousands of years, our sect has only produced 1 spirit transformation cultivator, Taishan Laozu. However, these 4 inheritances were also used by cultivators outside our sect to cultivate to the spirit transformation realm. Otherwise, our predecessors wouldn't have spent so much effort to collect them." Lu Ping never knew that Jinling had such a secret. He knew that it was because he was now an inner disciple and his status had risen. Enlightened Master Xian Yong continued, among the 5 inheritances, there is a cultivation method for the flood dragon bloodline, but it is suitable for the wind and fire attributes. It does not match your water attribute. When Lu Ping heard enlightened Master Xian Yong's words, he was immediately filled with disappointment. Enlightened Master Xian Yong saw Lu Ping's expression and knew what he was thinking, so he said, "You don't have to be discouraged. All the cultivation methods in the world lead to the same goal. After all, it is the inheritance of the 7th patriarch. Although our sect does not have a cultivation method for the water flood dragon bloodline to reach the spirit transformation realm, we do have a cultivation method for the water flood dragon bloodline to reach the law phase realm." Enlightened Master Xian Yong paused for a moment and then said, "If you have the determination to reach the spirit transformation realm, you can complete the cultivation method yourself. At that time, our sect will have 6 inheritances and our foundation will be even deeper. You can also leave your name in history and let the younger generation of Zhenling disciples admire you." When Lu Ping heard enlightened Master Xian Yong say this, he understood that he would not lose the chance to reach the spirit transformation realm because of the attribute of his bloodline. However, perfecting this cultivation method was very difficult. Zhenling had only produced 1 spirit transformation cultivator and had only collected 5 complete cultivation methods to reach the spirit transformation realm. This showed how difficult it was. When he walked out of enlightened Master Xian Yong's residence, Lu Ping already had a Zhenling sect inner disciple jade token in his hand. This token was the symbol of an inner disciple and also the proof to enter and exit Zhenling sect's territory, Tianling Mountain. Under the guidance of one of enlightened Master Xian Yong's disciples, Lu Ping flew toward Heaven's Spirit Mountain. After entering the blood condensation realm, one of the obvious characteristics was that Lu Ping could no longer fly with the help of magic treasures. Lu Ping was clearly not used to this method of flying. Enlightened Master Xian Yong's disciple, Wu Xinyu, flew in the air with his clothes fluttering in the wind. He looked like a celestial being, but Lu Ping was swaying in the air like a kite with a broken string. After adjusting with great difficulty, Lu Ping smiled at Wu Xinyu, who was waiting for him in front of him. "I've let immortal Master Wu see a joke. Disciple has just reached the blood condensation realm, so I'm really not used to it yet." Wu Xinyu smiled. "Junior brother is already not bad. When I reached the blood condensation realm, I was even worse than you. It took me a day to get used to it. By the way, junior brother is already a blood condensation cultivator, so you shouldn't call yourself a junior anymore." Lu Ping agreed, "Senior martial brother, you're right." In the blink of an eye, the two of them arrived at Tianling Mountain's entrance. They flashed their identity tokens, and the clouds surrounding Tianling Mountain parted, revealing a path up the mountain. There were 2 blood condensation realm cultivators at the entrance. Clearly, they knew Wu Xinyu. After greeting him, the 2 of them entered the depths of Tianling Mountain. This was Lu Ping's first time at Heaven's Spirit Mountain, so he was naturally very curious. Wu Xinyu also understood this, so he didn't walk very fast. Heaven's Spirit Mountain forbade blood condensation cultivators from flying. This allowed Lu Ping to enjoy the scenery as much as he wanted. Chapter 61. In fact, Lu Ping was a little disappointed. In his imagination, Zhenling was a big sect in the North Sea, so its base should be filled with pavilions, terraces, and towers. However, in Lu Ping's eyes, Tianling Mountain looked like a big farm. Along the way, the spiritual energy on Tianling Mountain was naturally very dense. However, other than the caves built by Zhenling's disciples, the rest of the places were all opened up into various spiritual herb gardens. There were all kinds of spiritual herbs and spiritual materials planted in them. The spiritual herb gardens were protected by all kinds of arrays, but these arrays weren't very strong. It was obvious that they were only to prevent cultivators from the mountain from entering by mistake. Wu Xinyu looked at Lu Ping's expression and smiled. "How is it? Are you disappointed?" "To be honest, I was also very surprised when I came here for the first time. I didn't expect the famous Zhenling to have such a simple base. Indeed, Lu Ping said. Wu Xinyu continued, the reason is very simple. It's because of the lack of cultivation resources. Therefore, every place where spirit energy converges must be developed into a place to grow all kinds of spirit materials. Because Tianling Mountain has a large spirit vein, there are countless spirit energy converging points on the mountain. Therefore, other than using these spirit energy converging points to build abodes for our sect's disciples, the rest must be used to build gardens for spirit herbs, spirit grains, and so on. After listening to Wu Xinyu's explanation, Lu Ping's heart was moved. He had a direct understanding of the cultivation world. Even things that he couldn't understand before seemed to have become clear. The two talked as they walked, and soon, they reached the waist of the mountain. Tianling Mountain had a large spiritual vein, so the whole mountain was divided into 3 levels. The spiritual energy at the foot of the mountain was the weakest, and it was where the blood condensation cultivators' caves were located. The waist of the mountain was rich with spiritual energy, and it was where the core forging cultivators cultivated. The entire spiritual vein was located at the top of the mountain, and only Dharma manifestation cultivators or high-level core forging cultivators could occupy that place. Halfway up the mountain, there was a large hall made of green bricks and tiles. It had the aura of an immortal. Wu Xinyu pointed at the hall and said, "Here we are. This is the place where the sect handles the daily affairs. You will have to do everything here to become an inner disciple." Lu Ping looked at the rather elegant hall and asked, "Is the sect master of our sect also here?" Wu Xinyu slapped his head and said, "I forgot to tell Junior that our sect doesn't have a sect master. Everyday matters are handled by the Heavens Spirit Hall. The truly important matters of the sect are decided by the Laozu." Wu Xinyu led Lu Ping to a room in the back of the palace. He said to Lu Ping, "For the past year, Martial Uncle Xian Yuan has been on duty in the palace. Martial Uncle Xian Yuan is the same as my master, a third-layer core forging cultivator." Wu Xinyu knocked on the door and said, "Martial Uncle Xian Yuan, disciple Wu Xinyu and Lu Ping are here to see you." A lazy voice came from inside the room. "Come in, I've heard you chattering outside for half a day." Wu Xinyu smiled at Lu Ping. The two of them walked into the room. Lu Ping saw a middle-aged cultivator with sleepy eyes sitting behind a table. He was leaning against a chair, holding a large wine gourd in his right hand. He was drinking from it, and his left hand was flipping through a book with great interest. This originally rather contradictory scene seemed to be very harmonious with enlightened Master Xian Yuan's every action, revealing a unique charm. Wu Xinyu walked up and smiled. "Are you still reading a novel, Martial Uncle?" Then he pointed at Lu Ping and said, "This junior brother is a new blood condensation cultivator from the side hall. Master told me to bring him here for Martial Uncle to see so that you can choose a cultivation technique." Enlightened Master Xian Yuan chuckled. "You're here to trouble me, aren't you?" He raised his head and looked at Lu Ping. Lu Ping suddenly felt as if he had been seen through by enlightened Master Xian Yuan. Enlightened Master Xian Yuan continued, "Not bad, your foundation is solid, your magic power is strong, and you're young. You're a good seedling. What bloodline do you have?" Lu Ping answered, "Disciple has the water attribute flood dragon bloodline." Enlightened Master Xian Yuan smacked his lips, then took a sip of wine. Water flood dragon bloodline? Lu Ping waited for enlightened Master Xian Yuan to continue, but Wu Xinyu had already walked up to him with a smile. He handed over 10 spirit stones and said, "Martial Uncle, please give me some pointers." Lu Ping had a strange expression on his face. Why would a core forging cultivator care about 10 spirit stones? Enlightened Master Xian Yuan ignored Lu Ping's expression and said, "Our sect has a total of 19 cultivation techniques for the water flood dragon bloodline. Other than the 8 that are only perfected up to the blood condensation stage, there are 7 that are for the core forging stage, and 4 for the manifestation stage. Which one would you like to choose?" This time, there was no need for Wu Xinyu to remind him. Lu Ping quickly handed over 10 spirit stones and said, "Disciple is slow-witted, please give me some pointers, Martial Uncle." Enlightened Master Xian Yuan weighed the spirit stones in his hand and said, "You are a promising young man." He took a sip of wine and said, "Let's not talk about the 8 blood condensation techniques. Out of the 7 techniques for the core forging stage, 2 are pure water attribute techniques. The other 5 have different attributes, such as using metal to supplement water, water to supplement wood, wind and water, ice and water, and metal, water, and wood at the same time. They are all different, but they all focus on water." Enlightened Master Xian Yuan took a sip of wine to moisten his throat and said, "As for the manifestation stage, only one of them is a pure water attribute technique. The other 3 are similar to what I've said before, but the method of cultivation is different, but the principle is the same." When Enlightened Master Xian Yuan finished, Lu Ping asked, "Which is better, the pure water attribute technique or the other water attribute techniques?" Enlightened Master Xian Yuan chuckled and continued to drink. Lu Ping understood and quickly handed over another 10 spirit stones. Enlightened Master Xian Yuan praised him again, "You have a good eye." He then said, "It's very difficult to cultivate a technique to perfection. It depends on the person using it. A pure water attribute technique is valuable because of the word pure, but this word pure is also very difficult to achieve. The other techniques, on the other hand, are based on the word change. If you combine it well, you will be able to change into a myriad of forms, which is also a great advantage in a battle." Enlightened Master Xian Yuan changed his tone and said, "However, to be fair, if a pure water attribute technique can achieve the word pure, its power will be superior to the other techniques. However, this word pure is the most difficult to achieve. It requires perseverance, and even luck. Furthermore, a pure water attribute technique focuses on getting rid of the impurities and extracting the essence. It's slower to cultivate compared to other techniques, but it's easier to break through the bottlenecks of each stage of cultivation." As he finished, Enlightened Master Xian Yuan looked at Lu Ping and asked, "Young man, have you made up your mind?" Lu Ping was speechless. He didn't think that there would be so many twists and turns. This was the advantage of being a disciple of a sect compared to a non-sect cultivator. It could save a lot of trouble. A non-sect cultivator would have to figure it out on their own. If they weren't careful, they could make a huge mistake and never be able to turn back. Chapter 62. After listening to Master Xuanyuan's explanation, Lu Ping thought about it in private. His other 5 bloodlines were of the wood element, the wind element, and the ice element, so he did not have to worry about not having a suitable technique. However, after reaching the blood condensation realm, the changes in his bloodline made Lu Ping hesitate. His foundation bloodline devoured everything without leaving a trace, even though his turtle bloodline was also of the water element. What's more, Lu Ping had always focused on building a solid foundation and pursuing a strong arcane energy. The word pure was often linked to the word thick in his cultivation. Pure and thick was what he pursued. Although it would be difficult and slow for him to cultivate, if he could achieve something in the field of alchemy, he wouldn't have to worry about the slow progress. Thinking about this, Lu Ping made up his mind. He handed over another 10 spirit stones and said, "I wish to learn a pure water technique until the Dharma stage." Seeing that Lu Ping had made his choice, Master Xianyuan brought Lu Ping into the library of the Heaven's Spirit Palace. He handed a jade scroll to Lu Ping and said, "Linhai Wave Listening Technique, perfected to the mid-Dharma stage." In the history of Xinling, there have been 6 practitioners who used this technique to reach the Dharma stage, and 2 of them reached the mid-Dharma stage. Lu Ping finished copying the jade scroll and asked, "Uncle Master, may I also copy the other 2 pure water techniques for the core forging stage as a reference?" Enlightened Master Xian Yuan laughed again. Lu Ping was smart enough to pass the spirit stones to Enlightened Master Xian Yuan. Enlightened Master Xian Yuan waved his hand and passed 2 jade scrolls to Lu Ping. These jade scrolls only record the blood condensation realm's cultivation methods. Once you become a core disciple of our sect, you can come back and ask for more cultivation methods. After Lu Ping thanked him, the three returned to Master Xuanyuan's residence. Master Xianyuan took out an exquisite storage pouch and handed it to Lu Ping. Here, this is your reward for becoming an inner disciple. From now on, you can come back to the Heaven's Spirit Palace to receive the sect's benefits. Of course, this all depends on your hard work. As long as you work hard, the sect will naturally have enough benefits waiting for you. After thanking him, Lu Ping scanned the storage pouch with his divine sense. There were 20 mid-grade spirit stones and 2 bottles of China root pills for blood condensation cultivators. This was a type of pill similar to the 1000 ginseng dan used by Qiao Shipeng. And this was only because the sect had increased the rewards for him after he broke through to the blood condensation realm. Ordinary early blood condensation realm cultivators would only receive 10 mid-grade spirit stones and a bottle of common medicinal pellets. Lu Ping had long realized the value of cultivation resources. Advancing from the blood refining stage to the blood condensation stage was a qualitative change in cultivation and lifespan. On the other hand, cultivation resources were a qualitative change from widespread to scarce. From now on, you are the third-generation disciple of Zhenling. Yes, the third-generation disciple should be addressed with the word Z. From now on, your Dharma name will be Lu Ziping. At the same time, you also have the right to open a cave abode on Tianling Mountain. Of course, you can also open a cave abode outside of Tianling Mountain. If you do that, you will lose the right to open a cave abode on Tianling Mountain. The sect will compensate you in terms of benefits. Lu Ping thought for a moment. There were still many things that he didn't want people to pay attention to. In any case, there was a small spirit vein in Xingtao's cave abode on the Reef Island. Although it couldn't compare to the large spirit vein on Tianling Mountain, he could enjoy it alone. It was no less than opening a cave abode on Tianling Mountain. So, he said, I don't plan on opening a cave abode on Tianling Mountain. Master Xianyuan didn't ask for the reason. He said directly, oh, then you'll get an extra 12 mid-grade spirit stones every year. With that, he tossed the spirit stones to Lu Ping. Afterward, Master Xianyuan picked up the novel on the table and began reading again. He said casually, that's all. You can go into the scripture pavilion and see if there's anything you need, but don't look through the ones with restrictions. Oh right, after you've built your cave abode, you need to report here. With that, he no longer paid attention to Lu Ping. The two stayed in the scripture pavilion for a while longer before leaving the Heaven's Spirit Hall and descending the mountain. Along the way, Wu Xiniu couldn't help but ask, Junior brother, why don't you build a cave abode on Tianling Mountain? It'll be very helpful to your cultivation. Lu Ping had already expected this question, so he answered, there are too many people on Tianling Mountain. I like peace and quiet, and I'm also a carefree person. I can't stand being restrained, so I came out. Wu Xiniu asked again, Junior brother, have you thought about where you'll build your cave abode? Lu Ping shook his head. I haven't thought about it yet, but I'm currently on a mission with Master Immortal Lu. Even if I build my cave abode, I'll still have to stay on Huangli Island for another year. I can't think about these things for now. Wu Xiniu saw that Lu Ping was already prepared for these questions, so he didn't ask any further. He said, then junior brother should focus on your cultivation. Once you reach the 4th layer of the blood condensation realm and enter the mid-blood condensation realm, you can take on a master. At that time, with your young age, your cultivation will improve even faster. Lu Ping laughed. Thank you for your kind words, senior brother. Zhenling placed great importance on the cultivation of the younger generation of disciples. At the same time, he also took into account the independent spirit of his disciples. Thus, for the first 10 years in the Zhenling side hall, Zhenling's disciples basically lived a compulsory life. Only after becoming a level 3 disciple would they be sent on missions under the lead of the Master Immortal. After reaching the blood condensation realm, the disciples would have to rely on their own hard work to break through to the 4th level of the blood condensation realm and reach the mid-stage of the blood condensation realm. Only after reaching the mid-stage of the blood condensation realm would they be able to become an elite disciple of the sect. This way, not only would the disciples' independent spirit be nurtured, but they would also no longer have to follow the crowd on the path of cultivation. On the path of cultivation, everyone's situation was different. Hence, everyone's path was different. As a master, he could only give pointers and not make decisions for his disciples. Otherwise, it would be rare for such a disciple to achieve great things. Even if the disciple made a mistake in his cultivation, the master would still be able to remedy it after entering the mid-blood condensation realm. After leaving Tianling Mountain, Lu Ping returned to the cultivation room he rented. Although Lu Ping now had a cultivation technique and understood many things about the blood condensation realm, everything he learned had become a mess after entering the blood condensation realm. He needed some time to sort it out. At the same time, he also needed to clarify his cultivation plan for the near future. Sitting cross-legged on the spirit-gathering cushion, Lu Ping was carefully studying the Lin-Hai wave listening technique in his hand. At the same time, there were a few jade slips placed in front of him. They were the cultivation techniques of other pure water Jiao bloodline blood condensation realm that he had copied from the scripture depository. In fact, Lu Ping even had a jade slip with a cultivation technique for the core forging realm. It was obtained from Qiao Shipeng. It was called the Fuyao Ninth Heaven Divine Art. It was a cultivation technique that cultivated both wind and water and targeted the Peng bloodline. Qiao Shipeng must have obtained a cultivation technique for the core forging realm because of the Qiao family's influence in Xianling sect. Now, Lu Ping had benefited again. Although Lu Ping couldn't cultivate directly due to the difference in their bloodlines, there were some similarities between water and water cultivation techniques. This jade slip with the cultivation technique for the core forging realm opened a window for Lu Ping. It allowed Lu Ping to peek into the mysteries of the core forging realm and avoid many detours. Chapter 63. The sea wave listening technique described the process of cultivation as the growth of a river. In the blood condensation realm, it would be like a mountain spring bursting out of the ground. It was pure. In the core forging realm, it would be like a raging river, unstoppable. In the aspect realm, it would be like a vast ocean. Lu Ping repeatedly studied the sea wave listening technique until he understood it thoroughly. Then, he tried to gradually replace the blood condensation spirit melting technique with the sea wave listening technique. When his entire bloodline began to circulate according to the sea wave listening technique, Lu Ping immediately felt like his blood was like a mountain spring, bursting out of his heart. It let out a soft gurgling sound, singing a cheerful song, and rushed to every part of his body. The spiritual energy outside of his body quickly rushed into his body and was absorbed by his bloodline. As the spiritual energy in his bloodline grew stronger, strands of spiritual energy were also separated from his blood as it passed through his heart. They wrapped around the condensed blood bead in the space of his heart, causing the bead to grow larger and its surface to become more and more translucent. After circulating the technique for 12 times, Lu Ping gradually familiarized himself with the sea wave listening technique. A look of satisfaction appeared on his face. As expected, the blood condensation spirit melting technique, a blood condensation spirit melting technique, could not be compared to the blood condensation spirit melting technique. He had only cultivated for a day, but he could already feel the spiritual energy in his body growing significantly. There were still about 2 months until the rental of the spirit vein cultivation room. Lu Ping happened to have 3 bottles of blood condensation realm cultivation pills, which was exactly enough for 2 months. Normally, once a cultivator reached the blood condensation realm, the medicinal efficacy of the pills they consumed would increase tremendously. Even if the cultivator's cultivation also underwent a transformation, it would still take 3 days to completely consume the medicinal efficacy of the pills and expel the medicinal toxins. However, perhaps it was because after Lu Ping's flood dragon bloodline swallowed the tortoise bloodline, his Fa Li suddenly doubled, or because Lu Ping's own accumulation was deep enough, or because of the Linhai wave listening spell that he practiced, Lu Ping's time to digest the Dan was obviously shortened a lot. He only needed 2 days to completely consume the power of the Dan. In other words, compared to other cultivators, in the same amount of time, Lu Ping could consume half more pills to increase his cultivation. This was undoubtedly good news for Lu Ping. Because Lu Ping walked the path of pure water cultivation, this kind of cultivation method that pursued the foundation excessively. Not only did it reduce the risks of cultivation, but it also made the cultivation method extremely slow. As a result, Lu Ping could at least have an advantage in the consumption of medicinal pills. However, this also forced Lu Ping to make a breakthrough in the field of Dan concoction. After Lu Ping's foundation bloodline swallowed the tortoise bloodline, it had an absolute advantage among the remaining 6 bloodlines. Normally, this kind of situation would only occur when a cultivator reached the 2nd level of the blood condensation realm and merged with the other bloodlines. Right now, Lu Ping didn't know whether this situation was good or bad for his bloodline, but he didn't want to ask others about it. There was always a sense of crisis in Lu Ping's heart. He didn't want others to know about his secret, especially the 20 years of experience in his soul. 2 months later, Lu Ping, whose cultivation had greatly improved, came out of seclusion. He went to enlightened Master Xian Yong's residence to express his gratitude, only to find out that enlightened Master Xian Yong had gone to Xian Qi Island with Wu Xinyu, a group of senior immortals, and level 3 disciples who had reached the late blood condensation realm. Lu Ping's intuition told him that there was a commotion on Xian Qi Island, especially after he killed the Qiao brothers, causing Xian Ling sect and Qiao family to lose 2 direct descendants. It would be strange if Xian Ling sect and the Qiao family didn't react. On the contrary, Xian Ling sect took action only after half a year had passed. This made Lu Ping feel that Xian Ling sect's reaction was too slow. Thinking about his business on Huangli Island, the mini spirit vein and spiritual herb garden on the Reef Island, and the green sea snake's nest, Lu Ping couldn't help but feel anxious. Although Huangli Island was barren, he had spent a lot of effort to manage it for the past 2 years. Even though it was remote, it was still connected to Xian Ling sect's sea territory. There was no guarantee that no one would go there and cause trouble. If someone discovered the spirit vein and the green sea snake's nest, he would suffer a huge loss. With this thought in mind, Lu Ping hurried to Xian Qi Island through the teleportation array. Currently, Xian Qi Island was livelier than before. Not only were there many level 3 disciples and outer disciples from the side halls, but there were also many blood condensation realm senior immortals. Cultivators who could fly in the air without relying on magical artifacts were often seen on the island. Lu Ping could clearly sense the solemn atmosphere on the island, as if they were preparing for war. Lu Ping went straight to Master Immortal Lu's cultivation room. When Master Immortal Lu saw Lu Ping's return, he was pleasantly surprised. "You really didn't disappoint me. You came back at the right time. The current situation is very tense. The slightest friction between the 2 sects could lead to a war between multiple sections. With your current cultivation, it's time for you to contribute." Lu Ping briefly explained his breakthrough to Master Immortal Lu. Of course, he didn't mention the devouring of his bloodline, the mutation of his divine sense, and the use of 4 blood-condensing pills. He only mentioned that he used 2 blood-condensing pills. Even so, Master Immortal Lu was still impressed by Lu Ping's profound cultivation. Lu Ping asked Master Immortal Lu about the current situation, and Master Immortal Lu explained everything in detail to Lu Ping. After Qiao Shipeng was killed by Lu Ping, Xian Ling sect and Jinling didn't know about it. Jinling thought that Qiao Shipeng had killed the snake demon and returned to the Qiao family. The Qiao family, on the other hand, thought that Qiao Shipeng was still hunting the snake demon. Through the guards who returned to the family, they found out that Qiao Shipeng was hunting a monster with a noble bloodline, the green sea snake. Moreover, Qiao Shipeng had already ventured deep into Jinling's territory. The Qiao family couldn't sit still anymore. They quickly sent out 6 blood condensation cultivators, led by 2 mid-blood condensation cultivators, to rescue Qiao Shipeng. However, the 6 of them roamed the nearby waters for almost a month and still couldn't find Qiao Shipeng. This caused the Qiao family to panic. They quickly increased the number of people from 6 to 15, divided into 3 teams, and each team was led by a late blood condensation cultivator. They were tasked to search for Qiao Shipeng in Jinling's territory. The Qiao family's brazen actions naturally angered Jinling. Hence, enlightened Master Chu ordered the 15 people to leave Jinling's territory and warned them that this was Jinling's territory. If the Qiao family wanted to enter again, they wouldn't be able to leave. Helpless, the Qiao family could only seek help from Xianling sect. This incident was originally planned by Xianling sect, and Qiao Shipeng's disappearance caught Xianling sect off guard. Xianling sect hastily accused Jinling of murdering the Qiao family's successor. Naturally, Jinling refused to back down. He reprimanded Xianling sect in the North Sea Alliance for framing them. At the same time, he questioned Qiao Shipeng on why he trespassed into Jinling's territory to hunt demonic beasts. Now that he failed to hunt the demonic beasts might even think of him as their prey. Jinling's accusation angered Xianling sect, but they couldn't expose their plan to the public. Hence, they issued an ultimatum. If Jinling didn't give them an explanation, Xianling sect would take back Xianqi Island. At the same time, Xianling sect, who thought that they had the moral advantage, formed a group in the North Sea Alliance to denounce Jinling. Jinling naturally took action as well. The relationship between the two sides became tense, and it seemed like a war could break out at any moment. Chapter 64. After leaving Master Immortal Lu's place, Lu Ping had a rough understanding of the current situation. At the same time, he also learned from Master Immortal Lu about Jinling's plans. Lu Ping didn't find it strange that Master Immortal Lu knew so much about Jinling's higher-ups. Ever since Master Immortal Lu advanced to the late blood condensation realm, he had always been steady, had a solid cultivation base, contributed to the sect, and was also the disciple of the sect's true disciple, Black Tortoise Enlightened Master. He was already a core disciple of the sect. Lu Ping suggested to Master Immortal Lu that he build a cave abode on Huangli Island. Although Master Immortal Lu was puzzled that Lu Ping didn't build a cave abode on Tianling Mountain, he didn't ask. The sect actually encouraged disciples to build their cave abodes outside of the sect's territory. This way, not only would it reduce the burden on Tianling Mountain's spirit vein, but it would also strengthen the sect's control over its territory. Master Immortal Lu only suggested that Lu Ping build his cave abode on the seabed. This way, it wouldn't be destroyed during the war between the two sections. Master Immortal Lu's suggestion was exactly what Lu Ping wanted. It reminded him of Sheng Tao's spiritual herb garden and the green sea snake's nest. However, the green sea snake's nest was in Xianling sect's territory, which was obviously not suitable. Moreover, the reef island had been ravaged by several battles, which limited the size of the cave abode. Perhaps he could build his cave abode on Huangli Island and move the spirit vein there. However, moving the spirit vein was not an easy task. The movement of the spirit vein would cause the ground to shake, which would inevitably attract the attention of other cultivators. He could only take it slow. For now, he had to build his cave abode first. After entering the blood condensation realm, not only was Lu Ping's divine sense twice as strong as an ordinary person's, but his senses were also much more sensitive. Lu Ping could sense several powerful auras on Xianqi Island. They should be core forging enlightened masters, but he couldn't guess the exact number. When Lu Ping stepped out of Xianqi Island, the auras suddenly disappeared. This surprised Lu Ping, and at the same time, he realized that this was probably a ploy against Xianling sect. If the auras were spread all over Xianqi Island, the hundreds of cultivators on the island would understand the strength of the Xianling sect, and they would naturally be confident against the enemy. This was good for dispelling the panic before the war. At the same time, if the auras were not out of Xianqi Island, Xianling's sect wouldn't be able to find out the truth of Jinling's plan. If they misjudged the situation on Xianqi Island, Xianling's sect would be in deep trouble again. Lu Ping looked down on Xianling's sect's series of actions. At the end of the day, the battle between the two sects was a battle of interests and cultivation resources. These were all related to whether a cultivator could achieve the Tao or not. In the cultivation world, there was a saying, stopping a cultivator from achieving the Tao is equivalent to killing one's parents. On the other hand, Xianling's sect was blindly trying to gain the upper hand in public opinion. After all, a battle of words and tongues was a mess. How could others know who was right and who was wrong? It was just a case of the winner taking all. Just like the time when Jinling insisted that Xianling's sect and the other sects were spying on Xianling's sect's secrets. Without any explanation, Xianling's sect seized more than a dozen islands from Xianling's sect and the other sections. How could Xianling's sect have a chance to refute? When the dust settled and Xianling's sect tried to defend themselves, they found out that in the eyes of the North Sea Alliance, they were already guilty of spying on others. From Lu Ping's point of view, Qiao Shipeng entered Jinling's waters to hunt down the green sea snake in the name of avenging his brother was probably connived by Xianling's sect. Xianling's sect used this to provoke Jinling. When Jinling expelled Qiao Shipeng, Xianling's sect could then use Jinling's conspiracy to kill Xianling's sect's disciples to unite with the other sects in the North Sea Alliance to punish Jinling. Unexpectedly, Qiao Shipeng's body was destroyed by Lu Ping, and the green sea snake was killed in its own lair. Now, there was no evidence left, and Xianling's sect's plan became useless. When Xianling's sect realized what was going on, Jinling was already prepared, but Xianling's sect was in a difficult position. To fight or not to fight became a problem. If they fought, they wouldn't have the upper hand in public opinion. If they didn't fight, Xianling's sect would suffer a huge loss for no reason, but they didn't have the guts to retaliate. What would happen to their pride as the #1 sect in the North Sea? After all, Xianling's sect still didn't have the confidence to defeat Jinling in terms of strength. Yet, they still claimed to be the #1 sect in the North Sea. They forgot that dignity was earned by themselves, and status was supported by strength. Lu Ping once again arrived at Dikuan Island. It was still bustling with activity, and there was no sign of war. Lu Ping decided to build a cave abode on Huangli Island. Coupled with the recent tense situation, he naturally had to make ample preparations. When Lu Ping arrived at the multi-treasure pavilion, the staff immediately brought him to the second floor. This was the place where blood condensation realm cultivators frequented. A steward came up to him and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, you don't look familiar. Is this your first time coming to our pavilion?" His friendly demeanor made one feel a sense of familiarity. Lu Ping didn't act pretentious and went straight to the point. "I've just entered the blood condensation realm and am building a cave abode. I need a set of defensive formations. Do you have any suitable formation discs?" The steward made an inviting gesture and led Lu Ping to the living room to serve him tea. After some small talk, Lu Ping learned that the steward's surname was Jia. A moment later, a staff came in with 3 sets of formation discs on wooden trays. Steward Jia pointed at the 3 sets of formation discs and explained, "Lu Xiaoyu, these 3 sets of formation discs are top-notch formations for blood condensation realm cultivators. The first set is engraved with the Lesser 3 Talents formation. It's powerful and simple to set up. It's a common formation used by cultivators to protect their cave abodes, but it's also a formation that most cultivators are familiar with. The second set is called the Misty Sea Mirage formation. It's not very powerful, but it focuses on creating illusions. It's also quite effective and simple to set up. Most importantly, it's not too expensive. As for the third set, it's called the Ice River Killing formation. This formation isn't any weaker than the Lesser 3 Talents formation. However, because it's complicated to set up and consumes a lot of energy, cultivators don't use it often. It's also troublesome to decipher. Naturally, it's also the most expensive. Lu Ping thought for a moment and asked, what requirements do these 3 formations have for the cultivator? Steward Jia praised and said, Lu Xiaoyu is very thoughtful. The lesser 3 talents formation can be used in a wide range of areas and doesn't have any special requirements. The Misty Sea Mirage formation is best used by cultivators who cultivate wind, water, ice, or wood elemental cultivation techniques. As for the Ice River Killing formation, it's only suitable for cultivators who cultivate ice and water elemental cultivation techniques. Lu Ping's expression was calm. He pondered for a moment and asked, how much is this Ice River Killing formation worth? Steward Jia's face lit up when he heard Lu Ping's answer. He knew that Lu Ping was a potential customer, so he said, this formation is worth 5,000 spirit stones. However, since you're a new blood condensation cultivator, this old man will give you a 10% discount to celebrate your breakthrough. When Lu Ping heard the price of 5,000 spirit stones, his heart skipped a beat. Only then did he realize that he was no longer a blood refining cultivator. Lu Ping might be considered a wealthy man in the blood refining realm, but in the eyes of a blood condensation cultivator, he was still a poor man. Lu Ping gritted his teeth and took out 45 mid-grade spirit stones from his interspatial pouch and handed them to Steward Jia. With this, Lu Ping's gains from Qiao Shipeng and the 1,000 spirit stones given to him by the sect were almost used up. Before leaving, Lu Ping told Steward Jia that he needed to take care of some miscellaneous items that he didn't need. At the same time, he also needed to consign some items for sale at the Multi-Treasures Pavilion's auction. Steward Jia ordered a shop assistant to bring Lu Ping to the auction. When Lu Ping came out of the Multi-Treasures Pavilion, he had 20 mid-grade spirit stones and an invitation to the Blood Condensation Realm auction that would be held on the 12th of April next year. Chapter 65. Lu Ping calculated the items in his interspatial pouch. He still had about 4,000 spirit stones. He couldn't touch the spirit herbs as he needed to learn alchemy, which would come in handy in the future. The spiritual materials for smithing were mostly what he got from Qiao Shipeng and his brother. The talismans were almost all processed. The talismans for the blood refining realm were basically useless to Lu Ping now. After gaining divine sense, Lu Ping's talismans for the blood refining realm were all top-grade and high-grade talismans, and almost 60% of them were top-grade talismans. A few sets of warning talismans and landmine talismans had already been entrusted to the auction house to be auctioned off. In addition to the 6 bottles of blood solidifying pills and a few mid-grade mystic instruments that he had no use for, these were all items that he could sell at the auction house. Lu Ping originally had 3 bottles of blood vigor pills, but he couldn't bear to auction them off. Although the effects of the blood vigor pills on his cultivation were negligible, they were still somewhat useful. In a situation where blood condensation realm pills were scarce, even a mosquito's leg was meat. Now, Lu Ping finally understood why blood vigor pills were so scarce in the blood refining realm. The biggest possibility was that blood condensation realm cultivators who couldn't buy blood condensation realm pills had stolen the opportunity. No matter what, blood refining realm cultivators couldn't compete with blood condensation realm cultivators. Qiao Shipeng's 3 condensed blood pearls were also the main reason why Lu Ping received the invitation. Otherwise, Lu Ping would have to spend quite a sum of spirit stones to buy the admission ticket. After that, he would try to make blood condensation realm talismans. Blood condensation realm talismans weren't differentiated by power. All blood condensation realm talismans were basically the same in power, but the frequency at which they were cast differed. A good blood condensation realm talisman could only cast 3 spells before it was destroyed. Lu Ping then went to the pill sales pavilion in the market. The manager of the pill sales pavilion, Master Immortally, was an old acquaintance of Lu Ping. When he saw that Lu Ping had succeeded in the blood condensation realm, he was shocked. Little brother, it's only been a few months, but you've already made such great achievements. You're now an inner disciple of our sect. You have such a bright future ahead of you at such a young age. Lu Ping smiled and said, You flatter me, Immortal Elder. I was just lucky. Master Immortally waved his hand. Since you've already reached the blood condensation realm, you and I should address each other as brothers. If you still address me as a junior, that would be a slap to my face. Lu Ping knew that he couldn't be careless with this matter, so he didn't insist and said, "This time, little brother is here for the pills." Master Immortally seemed to have already expected this. He led Lu Ping to the back hall and said, "Although our sect's pill-selling pavilion has opened a store to sell pills, we only sell ordinary pills. Starting from the blood-solidifying pill, we no longer sell pills for cultivation." Lu Ping knew that Master Immortally was going to tell him about the unspoken rules of Zhenling. This was a secret method used by large sects to amass wealth. After all, it was not an easy task to support such a large sect. Lu Ping said, "Senior brother, if you have something to say, just say it. What comes out of your mouth will enter my ears." Master Immortally nodded. "Junior brother is an old customer of mine, so of course I trust you. Blood condensation pills are naturally rarer than high-grade pills for the blood refining realm. That's why the supply of pills is based on the seasons, and there's a limit of 1 bottle per season." Lu Ping knew that it was difficult to supply pills for the blood condensation realm, but he was still shocked to hear that. Master Immortally didn't care about Lu Ping's expression. He probably had seen this many times before. He continued, "Also, due to the scarcity of spiritual herbs, we can't supply them in bulk. Usually, we have to gather enough spiritual herbs for a certain type of pill and then refine it. This is because the supply of pills varies from season to season. Sometimes, 10 pills per bottle is also the number of different types of pills." Lu Ping was already dumbfounded by Master Immortally's explanation. He waited for Master Immortally to finish before saying, "So it's that difficult. In that case, I can't wait any longer. Senior Marshal brother, just name the price." Master Immortally smiled. "As you know, ordinary blood condensation realm pills are usually worth about 10 times more than blood solidifying pills. However, in reality, there's no market for them. That's why the price of each bottle is set at 1,200 spirit stones. If it's a rogue cultivator or a cultivator from outside the sect, the price will rise to 1,500 spirit stones." Lu Ping obediently handed over 10 mid-grade spirit stones and 200 spirit stones to Master Immortally. Master Immortally smiled and said, "Since we need to confirm the name list in advance, we'll have to pay half a year's deposit first." Lu Ping had no choice but to add another 1,200 spirit stones. After receiving a bottle of China root pills from Master Immortally, Lu Ping also received a bronze token. The words, "Di Kuan," were engraved on the front, and a pill furnace was engraved on the north side. Master Immortally explained, "This is your proof of purchasing pills from the pill store. With this token, you can buy pills from any pill store in the sect on time. I know you're familiar with Su Zixian from the side courtyard market, but you don't have to think about buying 2 sets of pills like you did back when you were in the blood refining realm. The supply of pills for blood condensation realm and above is unified. You just need to register here, and Su Zixian will naturally know." Lu Ping smiled sheepishly. He really did have this thought before. Lu Ping hesitated for a moment. "Senior brother, I want to learn pill refining from the sect's master. Is that okay?" Master Immortally seemed to have expected this question. He sighed and said, "When I first found out about the difficulty of the supply of pills, my first thought was to learn pill refining. However, I gave up on this idea in the end. Instead, I spent a lot of effort to find this job at the pill store. Let me ask you, what is the attribute of your foundation bloodline after you reach the blood condensation realm?" Lu Ping actually already had an understanding of pill refining. He could only smile awkwardly and say, "I have the water attribute." Master Immortally shook his head. The path of a pill master is one of high status, strict rules, and strict inheritance. In order to become a pill master, a cultivator's bloodline must have the attribute of both wood and fire. Next is a pure wood or fire attribute. Of course, there is no need to mention the fire attribute. Pill refiners must first control the fire, so cultivators with the fire attribute have an advantage. Wood attribute cultivators have a better grasp of the medicinal properties of spirit herbs than other attributes. Apart from that, the cultivator's comprehension and talent also depends on whether they have the guidance of a famous master. Before becoming a pill master, they must have a large amount of spirit herbs to practice with. Just this alone is a huge expense. Thus, every pill master is very strict when choosing a disciple. Most of them only have one disciple. Once they choose a disciple, they will do their best to nurture them. Lu Ping still didn't give up. I still want to try. I wonder if I can ask for some pill refining insights from the sect's pill masters. Even a few pill recipes are fine. Master immortally looked at Lu Ping and said, "All right, I'll have to make you give up. Even if you have the insights, they won't be of a high level. I do have pill recipes, but they don't just contain the spirit herbs needed to refine a certain pill. They also describe in detail what temperature to add what spirit herbs, what order to add the spirit herbs, when to add them, and so on. It's extremely complicated. Thus, every pill recipe is made into a single-use talisman. After reading it, it will automatically destroy itself. Thus, every pill recipe needs to be bought with spirit stones." Lu Ping nodded and said, "Thank you, senior martial brother. Thank you for the trouble." Chapter 66. After Lu Ping left the pill store, he went to Old Chen's smithy. The shop was the same as the last time he came. Old Chen wasn't there, but Chen Lian recognized Lu Ping. Seeing Lu Ping walk over, he quickly went to greet him. When he reached Lu Ping's side, he said in surprise, "Ha, junior brother has also reached the blood condensation realm? Impressive. Did you find the spiritual materials to upgrade your landslide? Did you find deep-sea frigid iron, golden crow iron, or wind dust iron?" Lu Ping saw that Chen Lian was talking about smithing the moment they met and knew that this senior brother was obsessed with smithing. He laughed and said, "I didn't find deep-sea frigid iron, but I did find a piece of wind dust iron, but it's only the size of an egg. I'm afraid it won't be enough." The wind dust iron was also obtained from Qiao Shipeng. Lu Ping remembered old Chen's instructions, so he naturally kept it. Chen Lian scratched his head and said, "Hee, I was too impatient. Landslide focuses on gravity attacks. If I want to upgrade it, I need a lot of spiritual materials. An egg-sized piece of wind dust iron is far from enough." Lu Ping said, "Since it's a lot and these three spiritual materials are hard to find, why don't we gather all three together and smelt them together? It'll be easier that way." Chen Lian shook his head and said, "No, that's not right. That way, landslide will at most become a top-grade magic tool. It'll be even more difficult to turn it into a magic tool in the future." Lu Ping didn't know anything about smithing, so he quickly asked, "What do you mean?" Chen Lian said seriously, "Fine iron, profound iron, deep-sea frigid iron, golden crow iron, and wind dust iron are all metal-type spiritual materials. However, deep-sea frigid iron is inclined towards the water attribute, golden crow iron is inclined towards the fire attribute, and wind dust iron is inclined towards the wind attribute. Using only one of these three spiritual materials to upgrade landslide is naturally not a problem, but if all three are used, their attributes will not be compatible. Even if landslide is upgraded to a top-grade magic tool, its power will be greatly reduced. It'll be impossible to upgrade it to a magic tool in the future." Lu Ping felt that he had learned something new and hurriedly asked, "Does it also depend on the cultivation method of the user?" Chen Lian nodded and said, Yes. I almost forgot. What is your main cultivation method?" Lu Ping said, "It's a water attribute technique." Chen Lian let out an "oh" and said, "In that case, it would be best to use deep-sea frigid iron, it's just right for your technique." Actually, the best spirit material to upgrade landslide is Vajra iron. It's a pure gold attribute spirit material. But if that's the case, it won't be able to display its full power in the hands of a water attribute cultivator like you. Chen Lian suddenly thought of something and said, right, why are you here today? Lu Ping smiled and said, I thought you forgot. Today, I wanted to ask you about your natal Dharma artifact. Chen Lian smiled embarrassedly and said, about that, according to reason, your true inheritance cultivation method should have it. Even though the Linhai wave listening formula that Lu Ping cultivated was not one of Jinling's 5 great inheritances, it was still relatively complete. Naturally, it had the method to refine a natal Dharma artifact. This was a necessary part of a complete cultivation system. Lu Ping only came here to understand more. After all, a natal Dharma artifact was of great importance. Lu Ping had to be cautious, so he said, I'll need an expert like you to look at it in detail. Chen Lian was very attentive to Lu Ping's consultation. He lowered his head and thought carefully before saying, the most important thing about a natal Dharma artifact is spiritual materials. First of all, spiritual materials must be compatible with the attribute of the cultivator's cultivation method. Only then can it increase the cultivator's strength to the greatest extent. Secondly, although a natal Dharma artifact can improve along with the cultivator's cultivation, there is still a difference in the degree of improvement. One of the important reasons for this difference is the quality of the spiritual materials. Also, to improve a natal Dharma artifact, one needs to continuously inject 9 kinds of Dharma prohibitions. If the quality of the spiritual materials is not high, the natal Dharma artifact may collapse after only a few. The second important thing is to look at the profound level prohibitions used when refining the Dharma artifact. Each of the 9 prohibitions is different, but they must be of the same origin. If the attribute is not compatible, it will inevitably affect the power of the Dharma artifact. Of course, it also depends on the level of the cultivator's mana and the quality of the cultivation method. Finally, don't forget to find a good refiner. Lu Ping looked at Chen Lian's proud expression and knew that he was talking about his own family. But he was still grateful for Chen Lian's detailed explanation, so he said, if I make a natal Dharma artifact, I will definitely ask for your help. Chen Lian was overjoyed and said, really? Ha, that's great. Up until now, I have only made a natal Dharma artifact for myself. Don't worry, I will definitely make a good Dharma artifact for you. Lu Ping heard this and quickly asked, you said that a natal Dharma artifact needs spiritual materials. What kind of spiritual materials do you think are best to make a Dharma artifact? Chen Lian said, naturally, it's spiritual objects that have lost their spirituality. Chen Lian saw that Lu Ping was confused and said, the so-called spiritual objects are spiritual objects of various attributes. For example, my family's stone jade fire. Spiritual objects are divided into 3 ranks and 9 grades. Although the stone jade fire is of the lower grade of the profound level, this classification only focuses on the size of its power. Actually, every kind of spiritual object is very rare, and every one of them is very precious. Lu Ping had some understanding of this because he himself had a spiritual object, which was alchemist Xing Tao's blue spirit fire. It was of the upper grade of the profound level, but it was much more precious than the stone jade fire. However, the stone jade fire's fire nature was explosive, suitable for forging weapons, while the blue spirit fire's fire nature was relatively mild, suitable for refining pills. Seeing that Lu Ping was listening attentively, Chen Lian became even more enthusiastic and said, although these spiritual objects are formed by heaven and earth, they can't last forever. After a long time, they lose the replenishment of energy and will slowly dry up, degenerating into some spiritual materials of the highest grade. For example, the stone jade fire. Without father's nourishment, it may degenerate into a piece of stone jade after a few hundred years. These spiritual materials are the most suitable to make a natal Dharma artifact. In the future, not only will it be easier to make a natal Dharma artifact, its power will naturally be quite impressive. Lu Ping said with pity, How can we find such a good thing in such a short time? Chen Lian replied, there's no rush. Even though the power of a natal artifact isn't weak, the difference isn't that obvious in the blood condensation realm. You can use other artifacts to replace it. For example, your landslide. Even an ordinary high-grade natal artifact might not be as powerful as it. Of course, the grade of the natal artifact will increase according to the cultivator's cultivation level. Only late blood condensation realm cultivators can own a high-grade natal artifact. Therefore, it also depends on who has the natal artifact. Therefore, it also depends on who has the natal Dharma artifact. However, it's best to forge a natal Dharma artifact before advancing to the core forging realm. Otherwise, it will affect the advancement of the natal Dharma artifact. However, I don't know why it will affect the natal Dharma artifact because I haven't reached that level yet. Chapter 67. After leaving Old Chen's smithing shop, Lu Ping teleported back to Xian Qi Island through the teleportation array. From there, he flew back to Huangli Island. Along the way, Lu Ping flew as fast as lightning. The low-grade flying boat beneath his feet was unleashed to its maximum speed, allowing Lu Ping to experience what it felt like to be a blood condensation realm expert. Lu Ping sat in the cultivation room. After a series of exchanges, he already had a plan for his blood condensation realm cultivation. Of course, he still had to prepare for the upcoming war between the two sections. Although Lu Ping had been preparing for it all this time, he still had to prepare for it. First, he had to open up his cave abode. Initially, Lu Ping wanted to go to the Green Sea Snake's lair to plunder as Lu Ping had used up almost all of his blood refining realm savings. However, after considering the current situation and the fact that the lair was located in Xianling sect's territory, Lu Ping decided to go there at night to avoid attracting unwanted attention. Lu Ping's decision to open up his cultivation room underground was mainly due to the influence of Xing Tao's cave abode and Master Immortal Lu's words. Lu Ping arrived at the hillside of Huangli Island. The two freshwater rivers on the island both originated from this hillside, one in the northeast and the other in the southeast. In the middle of the two rivers, which was the back of the hillside, was a steep cliff that was more than 100 feet high. Lu Ping decided to build his cave abode here. Actually, Lu Ping also wanted to see if the two rivers on the island had the same source. After all, he cultivated a water-type cultivation technique. Cultivating next to water was always comfortable. Lu Ping released Debao. For the past few months, Debao had been kept in Lu Ping's spirit beast pouch and rarely saw the light of day. On the other hand, Lu Ping fed Debao all the low-grade blood refining realm pills he refined before. When Debao came out of the spirit beast pouch, it excitedly circled around Lu Ping. However, no matter how one looked at it, it looked like a big meatball rolling around. Debao had gained weight again, to the point that his legs could no longer be seen. However, his cultivation had advanced to the third level of the blood condensation realm. He could be considered an expert among the spirit-seeking mice. Summoning the flying sword, the flying swallow sword nimbly drew a flower and immediately displayed a set of sword techniques in the air. This was one of the 8 techniques that came with the art of listening to waves from the sea. It was known as one of the 8 techniques of listening to waves, and its name was Stone-Piercing Sky Sword Technique. This was the first time Lu Ping had displayed this sword technique. In the past, he was only able to familiarize himself with it. However, Lu Ping had already comprehended the force realm of the water-type cultivation technique. In just a short while, he had already grasped the essence of the sword technique. The flying swallow sword instantly turned into a white wave that reflected the sunlight and rushed towards the cliff. It was like a raging wave crashing against the shore, wanting to dig a big hole in the cliff by the shore. In just a short while, a large hole that was big enough for one person to enter and exit had been opened on the cliff. At this time, Debao, who was following behind Lu Ping, suddenly ran to the front and began to squeak. Lu Ping's face lit up. It seemed like there really was a place where spiritual energy gathered here. Normally, the source of a river was a place with spiritual energy that was favored by the heavens and earth. It would often become a place where spiritual energy gathered, and some would even form a spiritual vein. Therefore, it was said that the great sects of the land's cultivation world would often station their sects at the source of the river. The flying swallow sword opened up a path of about 10 feet diagonally downwards. The flying swallow sword pierced through empty air. The belly of the mountain was originally empty. The belly of the mountain was about 100 feet in circumference and 4 to 5 feet in height. On the ground, there was a clear spring that burst out from the cracks in the rocks and flowed to both sides. Presumably, this was the source of the two rivers on the island. However, the amount of water was so small. Presumably, when it flowed through the cracks in the rocks on both sides, there would be other tributaries to replenish it. The belly of the mountain was surrounded by stone walls. Although there was water flowing on the ground, it did not seem humid and suffocating, making it an ideal living environment. The place where the clear spring burst out from the ground was where the spiritual energy gathered. Debeo had already drunk a bellyful of water and was lying on the stone platform on the side, too lazy to move. Lu Ping was very satisfied with this place, but it could only be used as a cultivation room. Lu Ping returned to the open path and used the flying swallow sword to open up a hall on both sides of the cave as a guest room. Then, he returned to the belly of the mountain and opened up an alchemy room and a study room on both sides of the stone walls. He also opened up a spirit beast room as Debeo's room. Then, he opened up a half-mu wide spiritual herb garden on both sides of the clear spring. He was prepared to move the spiritual vein from Sheng Tao's spiritual herb garden over here and transplant the spiritual herbs there. After completing the construction of the cave, Lu Ping started to set up the ice river killing array around the cave. He placed the array disc into the belly of the mountain and placed 8 mid-grade spirit stones in the center of the array disc. Then, he placed a few ice and water attribute spiritual materials at specific locations around the cave. After returning to the belly of the mountain, Lu Ping activated the array. Immediately, the area within a radius of 100 zhang around the cave was bitterly cold. If a blood condensation cultivator tried to barge into the cave, they would be greeted by icicles. Lu Ping stepped into the hailstones and tried to sense them. He only lasted for 2 hours before his arcane energy depleted. No wonder Multi-Treasure Pavilion's manager Jia said that even a late blood condensation realm cultivator would be trapped in the hailstones. The arrangement of the array formation was based on the position of the array disc, which was determined by Lu Ping himself. Even the array formation master who crafted the array disc would have to first determine the position and placement of the array disc in order to decipher the array formation. Otherwise, he would have to start from scratch. This way, the cultivators could purchase the array disc without worries and set up the array formation in their cave dwelling. There was a small illusion array around the array. It could prevent mortals from entering by mistake, but it was useless against cultivators. Lu Ping changed the array disc to an automatic mode. This way, the array could be hidden during normal times. When an enemy entered the range of the array would suddenly activate and catch them off guard. Lu Ping looked at the 8 mid-grade spirit stones on the array disc, then looked at the 36 types of spiritual materials buried around it. He was probably the blood condensation cultivator with the least amount of spirit stones. Lu Ping only had 29 low-grade spirit stones in his storage bag. Originally, there were 3 ways to activate the array disc. The first way was to use 60 low-grade spirit stones. This way, the power of the array would not be maximized and the duration of activation would be the shortest. The second way was to use 4 mid-grade spirit stones and 32 low-grade spirit stones. This way, the power of the array could be maximized and the duration of activation would be slightly longer. The third way was to use 8 mid-grade spirit stones to maximize the power of the array. Lu Ping was a person who would make do with anything if he didn't have it. If he did have it, he would want the best of everything. Since he had enough spirit stones, why should he be stingy? Moreover, Lu Ping had a lot of good stuff on him. He could turn them into spirit stones at any time. Chapter 68. After a whole day of hard work, Lu Ping finally finished preparing the place where he would live and work in the future. The sun was setting in the west and the afterglow of the setting sun shone on Huangli Island, covering it with a layer of golden sand. Lu Ping looked at the darkening sky, and his heart began to race. He couldn't wait to reap the harvest from the green sea snake's lair. 29 spirit stones. How many years ago was the last time he was in such a predicament? What level of blood-refining realm was he at that time? The sky finally darkened, and there wasn't a trace of wind on the calm sea surface. However, a man in black was driving a small boat, sailing across the sky not far from the sea surface. He was so fast that only a black shadow could be seen, as if he had blended into the darkening night. In Xianling sect's territory, the man in black encountered a group of Xianling sect cultivators who were patrolling the sea. Fortunately, the sea here was also a remote and desolate place. If it weren't for the tense relationship between Zhenling and Xianling sect, there wouldn't even be a cultivator patrolling the sea. These cultivators were all blood-refining realm disciples, so they were easily avoided by the man in black. After venturing more than 10 miles into Xianling sect's territory, the man in black suddenly stopped on the sea surface. He took out a talisman from his storage pouch, which was glowing with a faint silver light from time to time. The man in black was overjoyed, as if he had found something. This man in black was Lu Ping, and the talisman in his hand was the parent talisman of the child-parent warning talisman. Last time, Lu Ping left a child-parent warning talisman near the green sea snake's lair as a mark. Lu Ping used the water-repelling art and slid towards the bottom of the sea. This time, Lu Ping easily sank to the bottom of the sea. The huge water pressure last time was nothing to Lu Ping now. At the same time, Lu Ping majored in the water, so Lu Ping had a deep sense of intimacy with the sea. Lu Ping suddenly felt that he should have been the spirit of the water. It was just that he had left the water for too long and needed to familiarize himself with it again. However, that natural closeness could not be erased no matter what. At this time, the bottom of the sea was dark, but it was not a problem for Lu Ping. With the detection of the warning talisman, Lu Ping easily found the place where the green sea snake fell last time. Even though almost a year had passed, the green sea snake's corpse was still well preserved. Its blood condensation realm cultivation and noble bloodline allowed it to remain in good condition. The faint aura it exuded was enough to deter the nearby sea creatures. Lu Ping was already very familiar with handling the carcass of the green sea snake. In no time at all, the meat, skin, and bones of the green sea snake were all dealt with. At the same time, he also obtained a condensed blood bead from a level 3 blood condensation cultivator. The green sea snake's carcass was lying in front of a natural cave formed by a reef. After Lu Ping handled the carcass, he moved towards the cave entrance. For safety's sake, Lu Ping even took out the flying swallow sword in preparation. The green sea snake's nest was quite well chosen. The entrance of the nest was very long, and it was slowly slanting towards the surface of the sea. Lu Ping moved in the cave for nearly half a mile before he saw a faint light at the entrance of the cave. Lu Ping became even more careful. He arrived at the entrance of the cave and probed the nest with his divine sense. After confirming that it was safe, Lu Ping walked out of the sea and entered the nest. As soon as he entered the cave, Lu Ping immediately felt that the spiritual energy was much denser than outside. Lu Ping immediately became excited. Could it be that there was also a spirit vein here? Lu Ping felt the density of the spiritual energy. It should be about the same as the mini spirit vein in the spiritual herb garden. The nest should be built in the belly of a small island. It was slightly smaller than Lu Ping's cave, but it was enough for 2 adult green sea snakes to stay inside. The entrance that Lu Ping entered the nest was right in the middle of the nest. There were many plants growing around the cave. Lu Ping saw quite a number of spiritual herbs. Among them, there were more than 10 spiritual herbs that were used to concoct blood condensation realm pills. However, only 7 or 8 of them were mature. Lu Ping looked around the nest, searching for the source of the spirit vein. Only then did he find something behind a boulder on the north side of the nest. This boulder was placed horizontally in front of the stone wall. It was connected to the stone wall from top to bottom. At first glance, it looked as if the boulder was part of the stone wall. As Lu Ping walked closer, he discovered that there was a space behind the boulder. The dense spiritual energy was coming from this space. Lu Ping crawled behind the boulder and saw that in the center of this small space, there were more than 10 500-year-old spiritual herbs growing closely together. These spiritual herbs were spread out in all directions, forming a nest. On top of the nest, there were 3 pure white snake eggs. The surface of the eggs was glowing, like 3 huge jade pearls. Although the 3 snake eggs looked fresh, Lu Ping's divine sense could sense that the vitality inside them was slowly diminishing. Obviously, after losing the care of its parents, even with the continuous supply of spiritual energy from the spirit vein and the nourishment from the surrounding spiritual herbs, the snake eggs still couldn't escape the fate of death. Fortunately, Lu Ping came. Ever since Lu Ping understood the status of the green sea snake in the demon race, he couldn't forget about the spirit snake's nest. He even risked provoking a war between the 2 sects to explore the nest at night. His main purpose was to find the eggs of the green sea snake. Now that his wish was fulfilled, Lu Ping's excitement was indescribable. Carefully holding the 3 spirit snake eggs in his hands, Lu Ping slowly injected his arcane energy into the eggs according to the method of incubating spirit beasts recorded in Sheng Tao's observation log. With his divine sense, Lu Ping could clearly feel the vitality of the 3 snake eggs slowly recovering. Lu Ping plucked the dozen 500-year-old spiritual herbs under the snake eggs and placed them into the prepared jade box. Then, he pasted a spirit sealing talisman on the surface of the jade box. 500-year-old spiritual herbs were generally necessary to concoct blood condensation pills. Naturally, Lu Ping had to treat them with caution. While plucking the spiritual herbs, Lu Ping noticed that there were also a dozen mid-grade spirit stones placed in the middle of the spiritual herbs. This must be the doing of the spirit snake's parents. Before a demon beast enters the core forging realm and transforms, it rarely uses a storage artifact. If it encountered a spiritual material that was useful to it, it would directly swallow it into its stomach. But now, it had placed a dozen spirit stones under the snake eggs. How pitiful of parents! While sighing, Lu Ping put the dozen spirit stones into his pouch. He wanted to use them as a last resort. Lu Ping was scared of poverty. After walking around the lair, Lu Ping plucked all the mature spiritual herbs in the surroundings. In addition to the previous dozen 500-year-old spiritual herbs, Lu Ping had a total of 23 500-year-old spiritual herbs and 50 100-year-old spiritual herbs that could be used to concoct blood condensation pills. As for the rest of the unripe spiritual herbs, Lu Ping planned to move this spirit vein to his cave abode on Huangli Island. When the time came, he would transplant the spiritual herbs there. Just these dozens of spiritual herbs were already a large amount of income. Unfortunately, since Lu Ping was determined to concoct pills, these spiritual herbs could not be exchanged for spirit stones. Instead, they were destined to be wasted by Lu Ping. There were also a few pieces of red copper ore scattered around the lair. Red copper was a spiritual material used to forge fire attribute magic tools. These ores were barely enough to forge a mid-grade magic tool. Chapter 69. In the green sea snake's lair, Lu Ping was thinking about how to move the 2 spirit veins to his cave dwelling. Suddenly, the warning talisman in Lu Ping's pocket vibrated. Lu Ping was taken aback. Did someone discover him? Lu Ping held the prime charm in his hand and carefully read the information from the child charm. According to the fluctuations of spiritual energy, the visitor should be a blood-refining realm cultivator. But strangely, the the visitor was able to dive so deep into the sea. Even when Lu Ping was at the 9th layer blood refining realm, he couldn't dive so deep into the sea. Lu Ping was able to fight head-on against blood condensation realm cultivators. Could it be that the intruder has a water-type treasure? Thinking of this, Lu Ping's heart was filled with excitement. Seeing that he had looted almost everything in the lair, he used an invisibility technique and walked out of the lair. Lu Ping quietly walked out of the lair, but he didn't see the blood refining realm cultivator. Instead, there was a strange-looking fish with a mouth full of sharp teeth swimming around the lair. As soon as Lu Ping walked out of the lair, the strange fish sensed Lu Ping's presence. It turned around and fled towards the eastern sea. This was a blood-refining realm demonic beast. Lu Ping couldn't let it get away. He didn't want anyone to discover this lair, so Lu Ping quickly chased after it. The strange fish's cultivation was around the 8th layer blood refining realm. Initially, Lu Ping didn't care about this level of cultivation. However, when Lu Ping chased after it, he realized that he was gravely mistaken. In just a short moment, the strange fish had already swam 400 feet away, out of Lu Ping's range of divine sense. Lu Ping could only rely on his eyes to see where the strange fish was heading. The strange fish was fast, and the water was its paradise. From the beginning, it had left Lu Ping far behind. Fortunately, Lu Ping was a blood condensation realm cultivator with strong arcane energy. Coupled with his understanding of water, he didn't get left behind. In the blink of an eye, they had covered a distance of several miles. Lu Ping was getting anxious. The fish in the sea had a natural advantage. If he didn't catch up soon, the strange fish would escape to the demonic beast's territory. Suddenly, Lu Ping remembered that there was a water manipulation technique in the 8 devastating waves that could control water. He was overjoyed and immediately used it. Lu Ping controlled the seawater to form an undercurrent in the sea, pushing him towards the strange fish. At the same time, he stirred the seawater around him. Although he couldn't directly affect the strange fish, the undercurrent in the seawater gradually affected the seawater 400 feet away. The monstrous fish was only a few miles away from the demon race's territorial waters. At that time, it would be able to report its discovery to its own manor lord. However, it suddenly discovered that the surrounding seawater was no longer calm. The turbulent seawater formed undercurrents, both strong and weak, which severely affected its swimming speed. The strange fish panicked. It could only swim forward with all its might. When it looked back, it realized that the human cultivator was only 200 feet away from it. It was horrified. Lu Ping became more and more familiar with the water manipulation technique. He moved faster and faster in the water. At the same time, the strange fish slowed down. When Lu Ping was only 200 feet away from the strange fish, Lu Ping's divine sense could already take the strange fish's life at any time. However, when Lu Ping became more and more interested in the water manipulation technique, he discovered that there were many mysteries in the technique. He couldn't stop and decided to play a game of cat and mouse to familiarize himself with the technique. By the time Lu Ping had familiarized himself with the entire set of cultivation techniques, the strange fish had already lost all its strength from being toyed with by Lu Ping. It flipped its belly over and pretended to be dead in the water. Lu Ping lost interest and stabbed the strange fish to death with his sword. Then, he put away the carcass. It seemed that De Bao was still interested in the fish meat. Lu Ping was about to turn back. Just as he emerged from the sea, he heard the sound of a cultivator wielding a magic tool. At the same time, he heard a faint voice saying, "It's this direction." When I was patrolling the sea, I sensed a fluctuation of arcane energy under the sea. It's heading east. Could it be some treasure? Another voice said, "What treasure?" It could be some kind of demonic beast. We're not far from the demonic beast's territory. It's not strange for demonic beasts to occasionally enter our territory. The first voice retorted, "You're right. Last time, our Xian Ling sect's inner disciples were killed by some demonic beast." Another voice said, What nonsense are you talking about? It was our Qiao family's senior martial brother Qiao Shipeng who chased after a demonic beast that wandered into our territory. But that damn cultivator Jinling got greedy and plotted to kill him. The first voice said in surprise, so that's how it is. I was wondering why our sect recently asked us to increase our patrolling efforts. So it's because of this. Looks like our Xianling sect is going to teach that Jinling a lesson. The other voice said proudly, of course, but our Xianling sect has always been the leader of the North Sea Alliance. Of course, we have to be reasonable. That's why we have to make sure that Jinling doesn't know what to say. That way, they won't be able to raise their heads in the alliance. We have to give them a chance to admit their mistakes. If Jinling continues to be stubborn, of course, we have to teach them a lesson. By this time, the two of them were already in front of Lu Ping. Suddenly, they saw a man in black standing on the surface of the sea. The first voice startled them and they asked in panic, "Who are you?" They tried their best to remain calm, but in Lu Ping's ears, it sounded like they were putting on a brave front. Lu Ping chuckled and said, "So this is how your esteemed sect reigns supreme in the North Sea Alliance. Then, let me teach the two of you a lesson first." As soon as he finished speaking, a bolt of light flew across the sky. Just as the two of them were about to soak in it, they suddenly felt the bolt of light piercing through their bodies. After that, they didn't know what happened. Lu Ping curled his lips and burned the corpses into ashes. Then, he picked up their interspatial pouches and flew towards Huangli Island. Along the way, he recalled the conversation between the Xianling sect disciples. He couldn't help but laugh. This must be the explanation that the Xianling sect's leader gave to the Xianling sect disciples after Qiao Shipeng's death caused a commotion. It seemed like the Xianling sect's leader didn't want to start a war with Jinling. Or perhaps he didn't have the confidence to win. However, he needed to give an explanation to the Xianling sect disciples, so he came up with this excuse. However, he didn't think that this excuse would eventually cultivate the Xianling sect disciples' arrogant and pedantic hearts. In the cultivation world, strength was the most important thing. When Lu Ping returned to Huangli Island and arrived at the entrance of his cave abode, he saw a sound-transmitting Dharma sword circling around the cave entrance. Lu Ping reached out and grabbed the Dharma sword. At the same time, he cast a spell on it. Master Immortal Lu's voice sounded from the Dharma sword. Chapter 70. A war is about to break out between the two sections. The disciples stationed on the island are to return to Xianqi Island as soon as possible to await further orders. Lu Ping looked at the sound-transmitting sword in his hand and thought to himself. It seems like a war is about to break out. Xianling sect is most likely coming this time. Otherwise, Master Immortal Lu wouldn't have issued such an order. It seems like my sect is very well informed in Xianling sect. After restoring the sound-transmitting sword, Lu Ping returned to the cultivation room. Looking at the two storage pouches he looted from the Xianling blood-refining realm disciples, Lu Ping couldn't help but smile bitterly. Not all blood-refining realm disciples had thousands of spirit stones like him. Lu Ping placed 500 spirit stones into his own storage pouch. Then, he took out some 100-year-old spiritual herbs, a mid-grade mystic artifact, and 3 low-grade mystic artifacts. The rest were some low-grade spiritual materials and a few bottles of blood essence pills. To be fair, the wealth of these two Xianling late blood-refining realm disciples was slightly better than that of Jinling's disciples. After all, Xianling sect was the #1 sect in the North Sea Alliance with 2,000 to 3,000 years of history. The wealth they accumulated was not something that Jinling could compare to. 2 days later, Lu Ping received another sound-transmitting sword from Master Immortal Lu. This time, it was directed to Lu Ping alone. A few days ago, Xianling sect's patrolling disciples were killed near Huangli Island's waters. We need to prevent Xianling sect from retaliating. Naturally, Lu Ping was touched. Master Immortal Lu was a man with a cold face but a warm heart. This time, he treated Lu Ping as his disciple. However, the murderer of the Xianling sect disciple was Lu Ping himself. Lu Ping was surprised by how fast his sect's information spread. It seemed like his sect had many spies in Xianling sect. In the following period of time, the North Sea calmed down once more. It was as if both sides had suddenly stopped fighting. However, the cultivators near Xianqi Island could still feel an atmosphere of impending war lurking in this strange calm. During this period of peace, Lu Ping made use of the time to cultivate while trying to craft blood condensation realm talismans. After entering the blood condensation realm, due to the emergence of the divine sense, the talisman crafting Lu Ping's talisman crafting skills were no longer useful. Fortunately, these little tricks had laid a good foundation for Lu Ping. To make a blood condensation realm talisman, the first requirement was the skin of a demonic beast in the late blood refining realm or a talisman paper made from similar spiritual materials. The second requirement was the spirit ink. The blood of a blood condensation realm demonic beast or spirit liquid of the same grade as the spirit ink. Lastly, the talisman brush had to be at the blood condensation realm. Fortunately, Lu Ping was prepared. Not only did he have the skin of a late blood refining realm demonic beast, but he also had the skin of a green sea snake in the blood condensation realm. Both could be used to make talisman papers. The spirit ink could be made from the blood of the first green sea snake he killed. At that time, the amount of spirit blood Lu Ping had collected was enough to fill his jade bottle by 1/10. It weighed about 15 jin. Also, Lu Ping had bought a talisman brush made from the fur of a third-level blood condensation realm silver moon rabbit from the previous auction. After finishing his preparations, Lu Ping took out the 10 talisman papers made from the strange fish. The first thing he needed to make was the invisibility talisman. Today at the entrance of the spirit snake's nest, Lu Ping had actually been exposed by a blood refining realm demonic beast. This was too embarrassing for him. Therefore, he used the first blood condensation talisman he made into an invisibility talisman. The process of making a blood condensation talisman was much more complicated than a blood refining talisman. Even though Lu Ping's divine sense was strong, almost on par with a second-level blood condensation realm cultivator, he still broke 4 talisman papers in a row. When he was making the 6th talisman, Lu Ping kept summarizing his failures and finally made an invisibility talisman. However, the faint glow on the talisman made Lu Ping doubt whether this talisman could last for more than half an incense stick's time. As for the remaining 4 talismans, Lu Ping made an invisibility talisman. The glow on the talisman was slightly thicker, and Lu Ping estimated that it could last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. The skin of the green sea snake was made into 40 talisman papers. After all, it was a blood condensation realm demonic beast and had a huge body. The quality of the talisman papers it made was far better than the fish skin. Originally, Lu Ping didn't plan on using these high-quality talisman papers. Instead, he wanted to learn from those rogue cultivators who hunted blood refining realm demonic beasts in the demon territory and used their skin to make talisman papers. This way, he could raise his blood condensation talisman production level. However, the current situation had clearly forced Lu Ping to give up on this idea. Perhaps it was due to the quality of the talisman papers. 3 out of 10 invisibility talismans made from the snake skin were successful. Furthermore, the duration of each talisman was longer than the previous 2. Naturally, the remaining talisman papers couldn't all be made into invisibility talismans. Lu Ping used one of them to make a water escape talisman. This was a method for escaping. Out of the 20 talisman papers, he made 4. The remaining 20 were made into water shield talismans. After Lu Ping cultivated the Raging Waves technique, his arcane energy had turned into pure water elemental arcane energy. This way, the defensive Dharma artifact he usually used, the stone tower, couldn't be fully utilized because it was of the earth element. Although its power was still several times stronger than when he was in the blood refining realm, the enemies he faced had also changed from the blood refining realm to the blood condensation realm. In the end, he made 5 water shield talismans. By now, 10 days had passed. The difficulty of making talismans in the blood condensation realm was much higher. Lu Ping already spent a lot of time and arcane energy to make 5 talismans a day. Naturally, he wasn't willing to make more because he still needed to spend a lot of time on pill refinement. The reason why Lu Ping persisted in learning pill refinement with his water elemental arcane energy wasn't because of his need for pills. It was because of a method that Pill Master Sheng Tao mentioned in the Sheng Tao's pill scripture. In the pill scripture, Sheng Tao believed that not only cultivators who cultivated both wood and fire could become top-tier pill refiners. The reason for this was the divine sense. Normally, when pill refiners concocted pills, their divine sense was mainly used to monitor the refining process in the furnace. They used fire elemental arcane energy to control the temperature and wood elemental arcane energy to monitor the changes in the medicinal properties of the spirit herbs. However, Sheng Tao believed that if a cultivator's divine sense was strong enough, they could use it to partially replace these functions. For example, they could use their divine sense to control the temperature of the flame and the changes in the medicinal properties of the spirit herbs. This idea wasn't unique to Pill Master Sheng Tao. In the cultivation world, pill refiners admitted that a strong divine sense was helpful to pill refinement. There were also pill refiners who didn't have wood or fire elemental arcane energy. However, these pill refiners usually had the lowest level of pill refinement. The pill refiner's rank was generally divided into 5 stages: pill refiner apprentice, pill refiner apprentice, pill refiner, high-grade pill refiner, and grandmaster. Most of the outstanding pill refiners were cultivators with wood or fire elemental arcane energy. As for pill refiners who didn't have wood or fire elemental arcane energy, even if their divine sense was stronger than ordinary people, they could only be ordinary pill refiners. The crux of the problem was that Lu Ping's divine sense wasn't strong because of his innate talent. In fact, it was ridiculously strong. Without cultivating any techniques to strengthen the divine sense, his divine sense was twice as strong as an ordinary person's. This was the reason why Lu Ping wanted to become a pill refiner. In fact, he wanted to become a pill refiner that was even better than ordinary pill refiners. This fact seemed to have been verified when Lu Ping concocted his first batch of blood condensation realm pills. When Lu Ping was still in the blood refining realm, he had already tried to concoct mid-blood refining realm pills. With a large amount of spirit herbs, his success rate stabilized at around 20 to 30%. However, with the help of Lu Ping's divine sense, his first batch of blood purification pills for mid-blood refining realm pills reached a success rate of 40%. This made Lu Ping extremely happy. Chapter 71. Looking at the 4 blood purification pills in the furnace, Lu Ping was quite excited. As long as he could achieve a 50% success rate, he could try to refine pills for the late blood refining realm. In his excitement, Lu Ping rested for a day and began his attempt to refine pills again. The refining time for a mid-blood refining realm pill was about 2 days. This was mainly due to the powerful effect of the heaven and earth spirit treasure in Lu Ping's possession, the high-grade profound blue spirit fire, and the mid-grade alchemy furnace. Ultimately, it was also due to the legacy of alchemist Sheng Tao. After that, Lu Ping basically rested for a day after every cauldron of medicinal pellets he concocted. After 2 months, Lu Ping finally stabilized his success rate at 40% after concocting 20 cauldrons of medicinal pellets. This couldn't be rushed. Unfortunately, these 20 furnaces of pills had exhausted the spiritual herbs in Lu Ping's hands. Moreover, Lu Ping could not leave his post and go to the market to purchase spiritual herbs. In desperation, he could only try to refine the blood essence pill for the late blood refining realm in advance. The first furnace of pills almost made Lu Ping go crazy. Looking at the only blood essence pill in the furnace and the dregs around it, Lu Ping wanted to cry but had no tears. He only collected 15 furnaces of spiritual herbs for the blood essence pill and 20 furnaces of blood purification pill. Lu Ping spent more than 1,000 spirit stones, but he only got this result. It was inevitable that Lu Ping felt a little disheartened. Fortunately, in the next 14 furnaces of pills, Lu Ping maintained the success rate at 30%. Only then did he manage to calm down. Producing 10 pills from one furnace of spiritual herbs was a standard for alchemy. In fact, a skilled alchemist could often refine more than 10 pills. Of course, it was difficult for Lu Ping to accept such a low success rate. Fortunately, he understood that alchemy was a profession that burned spirit stones for a long time, not to mention that his talent was not comparable to others. On this day, Lu Ping was observing the 3 green sea snake eggs in the spirit beast room. These 3 spirit snakes had been fully recovered by the time Lu Ping returned to Huangli Island. As Lu Ping continued to incubate them with spiritual energy, the vitality in the eggs became stronger and stronger. It was not long before they hatched. At this moment, Lu Ping's face froze. He suddenly turned and looked outside the cave abode. Just now, the array formation outside the cave abode had been triggered. Someone had sneaked into Huangli Island. At this time, which sect could it be? It seemed like the war between the 2 sects had begun. The people who sneaked into Huangli Island were the 2 blood condensation cultivators from Xianling sect. Xianling sect had sent their disciples to wipe out the cultivators stationed on the small islands near Xianqi Island. According to their intel, the cultivators stationed on Huangli Island had already reached the blood condensation realm. Just to be safe, Xianling sect had sent 2 blood condensation inner disciples to kill Lu Ping. Lu Ping stood in front of his cave abode, looking at the 2 approaching cultivators. The 2 from Xianling sect thought that Lu Ping would run away the moment he saw them. That was why they snuck into Huangli Island. They were afraid that Lu Ping would realize that he was not their enemy and run away. If that happened, they would lose out on a share of the spoils of war. However, when they arrived at Lu Ping's cave abode, they discovered that Lu Ping was already waiting for them there. The 2 were slightly surprised, but they remembered that Lu Ping was just a blood condensation cultivator. Since he had already seen through their disguise, they decided to just walk up to him and scrutinize him. The taller of the 2 said arrogantly, "Brat, are you Zhenling's disciple? If you know what's good for you, hand over your storage bag, and we might let you keep your life." Lu Ping scanned the 2 with his divine sense. One of them was a first-layer blood condensation cultivator, while the other was a second-layer blood condensation cultivator. He chuckled coldly and said, "You 2 sure talk big. How dare you trespass on my Zhenling Island without my sect's permission and threaten my inner disciple? I think you 2 are the ones who are tired of living." The taller cultivator sneered coldly and said, "Yes, I am threatening you. So what? Hee hee. You still want Zhenling to stand up for you? I'm afraid Xianqi Island is about to be conquered by our Xianling sect." Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. The other cultivator said, "Senior brother, why are you wasting your breath on him? This time, our Xianling sect is attacking Xianqi Island. Let's get rid of him quickly and rush to Xianqi Island. Maybe we can get a share of the spoils." The taller cultivator shouted, "You're right." He took out a copper staff and swung it at Lu Ping. The shorter cultivator's mystic instrument was a pair of mid-grade goose feather swords. The 2 swords spun up and down, turning into a wheel of blades that slashed at Lu Ping. If it hit its target, it would instantly chop Lu Ping into 17 or 18 pieces. Unhurriedly, Lu Ping threw out the flying swallow sword and cast the rock-piercing sword skill. The flying swallow sword flew in the air and suddenly turned into a huge wave that rushed towards the 2 mystic instruments. It parried the copper rods and in the blink of an eye, it clashed with the 2 goose feather sabers for a dozen times and shattered one of the sabers into pieces. The 2 Xianling sect cultivators regrouped and attacked Lu Ping again. One smashed at his head while the other slashed at his waist. One attacked from above, one attacked from below. Their coordination was perfect. Lu Ping didn't want to be outdone. He used the flying stone-piercing sword technique to create a huge wave. The flying swallow sword seemed to turn into a stream of water that protected him. It was like a flood that was blocked by a dam, but it also accumulated its strength. When the mystic instruments slowed down, Lu Ping immediately counterattacked. The two Xianling sect cultivators suddenly realized that Lu Ping's counterattack was like a monstrous wave crashing towards them, carrying the power of heaven and earth. They couldn't defend against it. They felt like two small islands in the middle of a flood, teetering on the brink of being swallowed by the huge wave at any time. This was the first time Lu Ping didn't use any tricks or sneak attacks. He fought head-on against two blood condensation realm cultivators, 1 against 2, and one of them was a level higher than him. Lu Ping had never displayed his full strength without using his trump card. There was an indescribable sense of satisfaction in his heart. His sword technique became more and more powerful. Many things that he didn't understand before suddenly became clear to him, and he displayed the state of force to its fullest. At the climax of the battle, Lu Ping's aura suddenly climbed to its peak. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, turning it into a long, clear whistle that traveled for miles. At this moment, the two Xianling sect cultivators regretted accepting this task more and more. What kind of monster was this? He had clearly just entered the blood condensation realm, but his arcane energy was so strong. One of them was in the second layer, while the other was in the first layer. Both of them had accumulated arcane energy for 2 years, but now, they were being suppressed by their opponent. Not to mention, Lu Ping's sword technique was majestic. It was obvious that he had comprehended the state of force. How were they supposed to compete? No wonder he didn't run away. He was waiting for the two Xianling sect cultivators to come to him. Fear arose in their hearts, and the urge to retreat also arose. The two Xianling sect cultivators looked at each other and shouted at the same time. They threw 2 mid-grade mystic artifacts at Lu Ping, and at the same time, they each took out a defensive mystic artifact. A flying sword and a round plate appeared beneath their feet. These were the 2 flying mystic artifacts. Ignoring the incoming sword wave, they turned and ran. Lu Ping laughed and said, "If I let the 2 of you run away today, how can I show off my skills?" As soon as he finished speaking, his sword technique changed. The flying swallow sword split into 2 huge waves, and in an instant, dozens of sword rays slashed at the same spot of the 2 Xianling sect cultivators' defensive mystic artifacts. In an instant, the 2 mystic artifacts were shattered. At the same time, the sword rays flashed, and the 2 Xianling sect cultivators' heads flew into the sky. Chapter 72. The 2 Xianling sect disciples' interspatial pouches contained a total of nearly 4,000 spirit stones. Lu Ping wasn't too interested in the low-grade mystic instruments, but he liked the pair of goose feather sabers. There was also a technique in the Raging Waves 8 Absolutes that allowed one to wield 2 swords, so he could use the goose feather sabers instead. There was only 1 bottle of 1,000 ginseng pills for the blood condensation realm, which was a pleasant surprise. Currently, Lu Ping didn't lack blood condensation realm cultivation pills. In Xingtao's cave abode, Lu Ping also obtained 4 bottles of blood condensation realm pills. 2 of them were high-grade pills for early blood condensation cultivators, which suited Lu Ping's needs. The other 2 bottles were ordinary pills for mid-blood condensation cultivators. Lu Ping treated them like treasures and kept them carefully. He couldn't stay on Huangli Island any longer. Xianling's sect had lost 2 blood condensation cultivators at once. They would definitely be alerted. He had to leave immediately. From the conversation between the 2 Xianling sect disciples, Lu Ping knew that Xianqi Island was the main target of Xianling sect's attack. At this moment, Xianqi Island was surrounded by enemies. If he returned to Xianqi Island, he would be walking right into their trap. He couldn't go to Xianhua Island either. It was the closest Jinling Island to Xianqi Island. Since Xianling sect dared to attack Xianqi Island, they had to stop Jinling's reinforcements. That place was likely to be extremely dangerous. Lu Ping thought about it for a long time. He felt as if he had been abandoned, unable to return home. While Xian Ling's sect was besieging Xian Qi Island, they had dispatched their cultivators to eliminate the cultivators stationed on the nearby islands. Judging from the 2 Xian Ling cultivators sent by Huangli Island, Xian Ling's sect had a certain understanding of the cultivators stationed on the 16 islands near Xian Qi Island, and they had made arrangements to deal with them. However, they would never have thought that there would be a mistake at Huangli Island. Then, would he be able to give them a taste of their own medicine and launch a counterattack to kill these cultivators who were sent to the various small islands? If that was the case, he needed to act as soon as possible. If he was late, or if Xian Ling's sect completed their mission, or if Jinling's cultivators retreated early, his trip would be in vain. Lu Ping put all the things in the cave abode into his storage bag. Then, he slashed at the top of the cliff with his sword, and the falling boulders and dirt covered the entrance of the cave abode tightly. It looked like he was going to destroy the cave abode after a battle. Then, he flew towards Huangyu Island, which was the closest to him. As soon as he left Huangli Island, Lu Ping noticed that he was being followed. Fortunately, the person didn't know that Lu Ping's divine sense was different from ordinary people. He thought that he was hiding in the sea, and the seawater could obstruct his divine sense. However, Lu Ping used a water manipulation art and trapped him in the sea. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape from Lu Ping. When Lu Ping saw that it was a blood-refining realm monster shrimp, he pondered for a moment. Then, he waved his hands and the monster shrimp's arched body suddenly stiffened. Then, it stopped breathing and was sent into the spirit beast pouch for Debao to eat. It seemed that the battle between Jinling and Xian Ling's sect had attracted the attention of the North Sea's monster clans. Huangyu Island was peaceful. Ever since Lin Sheng was robbed by Lu Ping and became the laughingstock of the side courtyard, he didn't cause any trouble for Lu Ping for the past 2 years. He had been cultivating diligently on Huangyu Island, and it was said that he had made great progress and was preparing to enter the blood condensation realm. For the past few years, the side hall's grade 3 disciples who had reached the late blood refining realm would be sent to Xian Qi Island and the nearby mini-islands to train. Other than the disciples stationed on Xian Qi Island, there were 5 disciples stationed on the 16 mini-islands, including himself, who had reached the blood condensation realm. Group 7 consisted of Yao Yong, Du Feng, and Lu Ping. Lu Ping could be considered familiar with Huangyu Island. He didn't find any traces of Lin Sheng's residence on the island, and there were no signs of battle either. It seemed like Lin Sheng knew something was amiss and escaped. At the Spirit Stone Mine on the island, 3 Xian Ling sect 9th layer blood refining realm disciples were intercepted by Lu Ping. The Xian Ling sect disciples, who were originally venting their anger on the miners because of Lin Sheng's escape, saw a Jinling blood condensation realm cultivator, and immediately started begging for mercy. Naturally, Lu Ping didn't hold back. Unlike Lu Ping, these 3 disciples didn't have the ability to challenge a blood condensation realm cultivator when they were still in the blood refining realm. They were killed by Lu Ping with a wave of his hand, and their interspatial pouches and the hundreds of spirit stones in the mine were taken by Lu Ping instead. After asking the miners, Lu Ping found out that Lin Sheng retreated the moment he realized he couldn't defeat the Xian Ling sect disciples. After leaving Huangli Island, Lu Ping thought to himself, killing these blood-refining realm disciples really isn't worth much. These 3 Xian Ling sect disciples only had a total of 700 spirit stones and 3 to 5 low-grade mystic artifacts. No wonder Lin Sheng could escape so easily. Since that's the case, I should go to the other 4 blood condensation realm senior brothers islands to take a look. Lu Ping headed west. About 200 miles away was Huang Lin Island, where Du Feng was stationed. He arrived at Huang Lin Island in the blink of an eye. However, Lu Ping missed his target again. After asking the mortals on the island, he found out that 2 hours ago, the island's elder immortal was chased by 2 Xian Ling sect disciples. When Lu Ping heard that Du Feng's life was not in danger, but he was no match for the 2 Xian Ling sect disciples, Lu Ping didn't stop and headed north to lend Du Feng a hand. Just as Lu Ping was about 10 miles north, he suddenly saw a Xianling sect disciple flying towards him. The Xianling sect disciple also saw the Jinling robe on Lu Ping's body and was surprised. However, when he used his divine sense to find out that Lu Ping was only a first-layer blood condensation realm cultivator, he heaved a sigh of relief. At that moment, a female voice suddenly came from behind the Xianling sect disciple. "Junior brother Lu, save me." Lu Ping was taken aback. Only now did he notice that the Xianling sect disciple was carrying a cloth bag on his back. The surface of the bag was wriggling, clearly carrying a person. The voice sounded familiar, clearly someone he knew, but he couldn't remember who it was. When the Xianling sect disciple heard the voice of the person on his back, his expression changed. Without saying a word, he took out a metal wheel. This metal wheel was 2 feet in diameter and was surrounded by sharp spikes. As it spun, it emitted a piercing whistle as it flew towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping's divine sense wasn't any weaker than the Xianling sect disciples. He could tell that the Xianling sect disciple was a second-layer blood condensation realm cultivator, and his pale face was obviously injured. Lu Ping didn't hold back. Up until now, he had only familiarized himself with the stone-piercing sword technique and the water manipulation art of the Raging Waves 8 Extremes. Although he had practiced the other 6 techniques, he hadn't tested them in actual combat. Now, he had a target to test them on. With a wave of his hands, Lu Ping cast out the pair of goose feather sabers he had looted earlier and cast out the Raging Waves Crashing Shore. The 2 mystic instruments, one in front and one behind, turned into 2 tidal waves that surged towards the Xianling sect cultivators like the waves behind pushing the waves ahead of them. By the time Lu Ping had familiarized himself with executing the Raging Waves Crashing Shore technique, the Xianling sect disciple had already been toyed with by Lu Ping to the point where he could only inhale and not exhale. Chapter 73. The person in the pouch was Hu Lily. Lu Ping had met her 3 times. The first time was at the side courtyard's trade fair, where he exchanged dozens of talismans for blood-solidifying pills. The second time was at the reef island where Sheng Tao's cave was located. Lu Ping secretly saw Hu Lily and her group of 3 exploring Sheng Tao's cave. That time, Hu Lily's profound knowledge and understanding of formations left a deep impression on Lu Ping. The third time was at the Di Kuan Island auction. Lu Ping saw Hu Lily in a private room. She also suspected that Lu Ping was at the auction, but she didn't expect him to be in a private room. Hu Lily originally thought that although the Xianling sect cultivator was a second-layer blood condensation realm cultivator, his strength was greatly reduced after being injured. As long as Lu Ping kept tangling with him, she would become a burden to the Xianling sect cultivator. In a desperate attempt to get rid of Lu Ping, the Xianling sect cultivator might let her go first. That way, she would have a chance to escape. However, Hu Lily didn't expect Lu Ping to be so powerful. In just an incense's time, he exhausted the Xianling sect cultivator to death. The technique that Lu Ping used contained a realm that she didn't understand. Could it be the realm of force? Hu Lily was secretly shocked. According to her knowledge, there weren't many late blood condensation cultivators who could comprehend this realm. Looking at Lu Ping, who was tidying up the spoils of war, Hu Lily said sweetly, "Master Lu, Master Immortal Lu, Hu Lily thanks you for saving my life." Lu Ping was in a good mood after obtaining 2,900 spirit stones and a bottle of 1,000 ginseng pills. He smiled and said, "Senior apprentice sister Hu, just call me junior apprentice brother. If you call me Master Immortal, I'll feel uncomfortable." Hu Lily giggled and told Lu Ping about her experience. As it turned out, Hu Lily had stayed on Xian Qi Island after failing to explore Sheng Tao's cave abode. She had to prepare for the blood condensation realm, and her magic power still needed to be tempered. Thus, she asked Xian Qi Island's immortal master Shang for an errand. It just so happened that a disciple stationed on a miniature island had returned to the true spirit side courtyard due to some matters, so Hu Lily took his place. After Xianling sect declared war on Xianqi Island, Hu Lili immediately retreated from the island. Considering the uncertain situation on Xianqi Island, she flew towards Huangqing Island, which was the nearest island to her. Yao Yong was already a blood condensation cultivator, so Hu Lili naturally wanted to join forces with him. Unexpectedly, outside of Huangqing Island, Hu Lili happened to meet Yao Yong, who had retreated from the island. Obviously, Yao Yong had encountered the same treatment as Lu Ping. Helpless, the two of them could only fly to Yellow Forest Island to meet up with Du Feng. However, when they saw Du Feng, who had suffered the same fate as Yao Yong, they realized that the three of them were surrounded by 4 blood condensation cultivators from Xianling sect. After a fierce battle, Hu Lili was captured. The Xianling sect cultivator who had captured Hu Lili was careless and injured by Du Feng due to his lust for Hu Lili's beauty. However, Du Feng's injuries were even more serious than the cultivator. Yao Yong took advantage of the fact that the Xianling sect cultivator's encirclement was broken and rushed out with the injured Du Feng. The cultivator who had captured Hu Lili wanted to return to Xianling sect because of his injuries and Hu Lili's beauty. The remaining 3 cultivators still had the upper hand in terms of strength, not to mention that Du Feng was seriously injured. Thus, the 3 of them decided to continue their pursuit of Yao Yong and Du Feng. What happened next was that the injured Xianling sect cultivator encountered Lu Ping, who had gone to Yellow Forest Island to look for Du Feng. Lu Ping easily dealt with the 2 of them. After listening to Hu Lili's story, Lu Ping pondered for a moment and said, "Senior Marshal Sister Hu, I need to go after the 3 Xianling sect cultivators to help my 2 senior marshal brothers. If it's not convenient for you, you can find a place to cultivate for a while. When the situation has calmed down, you can return to Xianqi Island." Hu Lili smiled and said, "I'm afraid the sea around Xianqi Island has already been sealed by Xianling sect. There's no safe place here. It's better to follow an expert like you to look for Yao Yong, Du Feng, and the other disciples stationed on the island. If we can work together, we might be able to survive in this sea." Lu Ping agreed with Hu Lili, so he led Hu Lili in the direction that Yao Yong and Du Feng escaped to. At this moment, Yao Yong and Du Feng could only be described as battered and exhausted. After Du Feng was seriously injured, Yao Yong had to take care of him along the way, so his arcane energy was greatly depleted. Seeing that the 3 Xianling sect cultivators were about to catch up, Du Feng's expression was still cold. He said, "Senior marshal brother, go first. I'll hold them off for a while. Otherwise, no one will be able to escape." Yao Yong took a deep breath and swallowed a spiritual recovery pill. He cursed, "Shut up, don't waste my arcane energy." With that, he dragged Du Feng and flew even faster. Du Feng knew that Yao Yong was already an arrow at the end of its flight. However, he also knew that Yao Yong had always valued loyalty. Otherwise, Yao Yong, who always paid attention to his image in front of his junior marshal brothers, wouldn't have cursed him after hearing Du Feng's words. Du Feng could only secretly circulate his cultivation technique to heal his injuries. He hoped that after the 3 Xianling sect cultivators caught up, he would at least have some capital to fight them. However, his injuries this time were too severe. Without a good healing pill, it would take at least 3 to 5 months of rest for him to fully recover. Yao Yong finally stopped flying forward. Since he couldn't escape, he might as well recover some arcane energy to fight the Xianling sect cultivators. Seeing that Yao Yong and Du Feng had stopped running, the 3 Xianling sect cultivators cautiously surrounded them. Their experience of breaking through the pincer attack of 4 people and injuring one of them told them that the 2 Xianling cultivators in front of them were not weaklings. They had methods that could seriously injure cultivators with higher cultivation than them. Yao Yong and Du Feng stood back to back. Yao Yong took out a brick-like mystic instrument while Du Feng took out a flying sword. However, the flying sword swayed a little in the air. Obviously, his injuries had affected the circulation of his arcane energy. Lu Ping brought Hu Lili and rushed in the direction that Yao Yong and Du Feng escaped. The flying mystic instrument under his feet had long been replaced with a mid-grade flying sword that he obtained from Huangli Island. Hu Lili was also standing on Lu Ping's flying sword. Looking at the seawater receding rapidly on both sides, she was secretly surprised by Lu Ping's flying speed and profound arcane energy. In just the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Lu Ping could clearly hear the roaring of spells and the clashing of mystic instruments in front of him. Lu Ping let out a long howl towards the sky. The flying sword under his feet sped up again, leaving a clear mark on the seawater below. White waves splashed on both sides, like a piece of cloth that had been cut open. Hu Lili stood behind Lu Ping, covering her ears tightly. Her delicate face was slightly furrowed. Du Feng had already fallen at Yao Yong's feet. Panting heavily, Yao Yong tried his best to protect Du Feng from harm. There were already 2 cuts on his body. Blood splattered on his face, but he didn't have time to wipe it off. Suddenly, a long howl came from behind the Xianling sect cultivator. Yao Yong recognized Lu Ping's voice, and his face lit up with joy. One of the Xianling sect cultivators quickly separated from the rest and stood guard behind them. 2 to 3 miles away, a flying sword with 2 people on it sped towards them. When the Xianling sect cultivator saw that one of the people on the sword was the female cultivator Jinling who was captured earlier, he didn't even have time to warn his companions before he saw a tiny red light stabbing towards his heart. The Xianling sect cultivator only had time to block it with the mystic instrument in his hand. A crisp sound rang out, and an irresistible arcane energy surged towards him. The Xianling sect cultivator couldn't help but take a step back. The mystic instrument in his hand was knocked away, but the red light was also deflected. A flying needle stabbed into the Xianling sect cultivator's shoulder. Ignoring the pain, the Xianling sect cultivator was about to warn his companions when he suddenly felt a strange vibration coming from the flying needle in his shoulder. The needle suddenly exploded, blowing half of the Xianling sect cultivator's body into pieces. Chapter 74. A one-hit kill. A first-layer blood condensation cultivator from Xianling sect was killed by Lu Ping in a one-hit kill. Not only were the 2 remaining Xianling cultivators shocked, but Hu Lili, Yao Yong, and Du Feng were also shocked. The 2 Xianling cultivators were scared out of their wits. They turned around and tried to escape, but Lu Ping raised his goose-feather sabers. 2 waves of saber light flashed and blocked one of the cultivators. Yao Yong mustered his courage and used a brick to tie down the other cultivator. Hu Lili also took out a mid-grade flying sword to help. The Xianling cultivator fighting Lu Ping had lost his morale. His arcane energy was not strong enough, and his sword techniques were not as good as Lu Ping's. In an instant, he was dismembered by Lu Ping's sabers. The remaining cultivator desperately wanted to escape. He did not hesitate to expose his back to Yao Yong as he desperately flew towards the south. However, he neglected Hu Lili. Although she was only a 9th-layer blood refining realm cultivator, she was quite famous in the outer sect of Jinling. Her arcane energy was naturally not weak. Although she was not as strong as a blood condensation cultivator, a flying sword flew past and stopped the cultivator for a moment. At the same time, Yao Yong's brick descended from the sky and smashed the cultivator into meat paste. On a small reef island in the sea, Lu Ping and the other 3 were resting. They were preparing to discuss the situation of Xianqi Island and their future plans. Lu Ping obtained 2 storage pouches. Initially, he wanted to share them with the 4 of them, but the 3 of them refused. Lu Ping knew that the 3 of them were proud people, so he did not force them. He sat at the side and looked at the spoils of war. The 2 he killed this time were slightly richer. Lu Ping obtained a total of 5,000 spirit stones. For the first time in his life, Lu Ping had more than 10,000 spirit stones in his hands. Lu Ping couldn't help but feel a little proud of himself. The blood condensation realm pills were still as few as before. There were only a dozen of them, but it was enough to make Lu Ping a little excited. On the other hand, Lu Ping wasn't interested in mid-grade magic tools anymore. He just casually threw them into his storage pouch. The other cultivator's storage pouch was divided among Yao Yong's group of 3. Yao Yong and Du Feng did not feel anything, but Hu Lili was incomparably excited. Lu Ping took out a red jade bottle from his storage pouch and handed it to Du Feng. Inside were 3 essence-repairing pills, the best healing pills for blood condensation cultivators. Du Feng's eyes lit up. He immediately swallowed one and said, "Good stuff. After 3 days, you can recover 80% of your strength." Lu Ping smiled and threw a bottle of medicinal pellets to Yao Yong. Yao Yong opened the bottle and saw a total of 10 top-grade essence-replenishing pellets. These were top-grade medicinal pellets that could restore arcane energy in the body. Yao Yong immediately swallowed one and said, "Junior Marshal Brother Lu, you have quite a lot of good stuff in your hands." At this point, the 4 of them had gone through thick and thin with each other, so they spoke more casually than before. Lu Ping chuckled and said, "I was lucky to buy it on Dikuan Island. But it's a pity that I spent so many spirit stones." At this time, Hu Lili, who had been puking on the side for a long time, walked over and said, "The way you 2 killed people is really unique. One chopped people into a dozen pieces, and the other smashed people into meat patties. I really don't dare to compliment you." Lu Ping and Yao Yong laughed. Even Du Feng, who was sitting on the side, had a smile on his face. The 4 of them sat together and recounted their experiences in detail. After summarizing the information they knew and guessed, Yao Yong said, "Tell me, what should we do next?" Hu Lili knew that she was the weakest in this small group of 4. If she didn't want to be a burden, she had to show her ability. Although Yao Yong and the other 2 were not from any faction, Hu Lili had her own pride. She said, "It's obvious that Xianling sect didn't start a war with us at the border like we thought. Instead, they chose Xianqi Island as their main target. In that case, Xianling Island must be surrounded by Xianling sect, and both sides must be engaged in a fierce battle. After all, enlightened Master Chu and the other core forging realm experts are on the island, and there's also the island's protective formation. Xianling sect won't be able to breach the island in a short period of time. Therefore, Xianling sect must be wary of Zhenling sect's reinforcements from other directions." Yao Yong frowned and said, "In other words, we won't be able to return to Xianqi Island or any of our smaller islands in a short period of time, and we might be pursued by Xianling sect's experts?" Hu Lili frowned and nodded. "What should we do?" Du Feng's injuries had recovered a little. He suddenly asked, "What should we do?" Hu Lili's face lit up when she heard that. She knew that everyone had agreed with her analysis, which also meant that they had acknowledged her position in the group. She said, "First of all, we have to be discreet. We have to circle around Xianqi Island's waters without being discovered by Xianling sect cultivators. If they find us, we have to kill them. Secondly, we have to rescue the cultivators on the other islands to strengthen our forces. Other than the 3 of you, there are still 2 blood condensation cultivators on the other islands. This will ensure our strength. Lastly, we have to search for Xianling sect's lone blood condensation cultivators and kill them to weaken Xianling sect's forces." Lu Ping said, "Won't that alert the higher-ups of Xianling sect and they will send out their experts to surround us?" Hu Lili smiled confidently and said, "Yes, we need them to send out their experts." Hu Lili saw that other than Lu Ping, Yao Yong and Du Feng were confused. She said, "Xianling sect's attack is focused on the element of surprise. If they can't break through Xianqi Island within a certain period of time, our sect will react and send reinforcements. At that time, it will be hard to tell who will win." Hu Lili paused for a moment to organize her thoughts. Then, she continued, "Xianling sect wants to besiege Xianqi Island. First, they must set up an array formation outside the island to cut off the teleportation formation on the island. If we can lure a few experts from Xianqi Island over, the pressure on the island will lessen. If a few blood condensation cultivators risk their lives to break through the island's protective formation and destroy the teleportation formation, our sex experts will be able to rush over through the teleportation formation. Xianqi Island's siege will be easily solved, and Xianling's sex plan will be foiled. Yao Yong and Du Feng were impressed by Hu Lily's plan and explanation. Lu Ping said, "This is what we call guerrilla warfare at sea." Hu Lily paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "Guerrilla warfare. That's the right term." Lu Ping calmed himself down and thought for a moment. He said, "I'm afraid there will be more variables this time. I've already been tailed by blood-refining realm monsters twice in the sea. If the North Sea monster clans interfere, won't they be the fisherman who reaps all the benefits?" Hearing Lu Ping's words, the originally relaxed atmosphere tensed up again. Hu Lily thought for a moment and said, "We need to find a way to inform the cultivators on Xianqi Island of our plan. If the seniors on the island are prepared, the losses won't be too great. Xianling's sect will be the one to be caught off guard." "That's good too. Once the monster clans interfere, the two sects will definitely stop fighting under the mediation of the North Sea. At that time, Xianling's sect will be the one to suffer the most." Chapter 75. For the next 2 days, the four of them carefully hid their tracks and roamed around the 16 islands in the sea around Xianqi Island. Since Lu Ping had a detailed map of Xianqi Island, it didn't take much effort for the four of them to rescue the 5 disciples who were being hunted or captured. The 15 Xianling blood-refining realm disciples were naturally killed. On the evening of the second day, they finally encountered one of the 2 blood condensation realm disciples. At that time, he was already on the verge of death and was only relying on his willpower to fly. The 2 cultivators who were chasing him were easily dealt with by Lu Ping, Yao Yong, and Du Feng, who had mostly recovered from his injuries. On the third day, Lu Ping's group, which had expanded to 10 people, didn't find any other cultivators on the island. Instead, they encountered 2 Xianling blood condensation cultivators who were patrolling nearby. The group rushed forward and captured the 2 cultivators. Hu Lily separated the 2 cultivators on a reef island and forced them to tell her the details of Xianling's sex attack on Xianqi Island. If they said anything different, they would be smashed into meat paste. Regarding this, Yao Yong specially demonstrated the power of his brick to the 2 cultivators. He smashed a Xianling blood-refining realm disciple he captured the day before, causing the 2 Xianling blood-refining realm cultivators to vomit a mouthful of blood. The 2 cultivators were straightforward and told everything they knew, hoping to survive. Hu Lily saw that the 2 cultivators told the same story, so she ordered Du Feng to cripple their cultivation and leave them on the reef island to fend for themselves. Through their narration, Hu Lily and the others learned that there were a total of 10 blood condensation realm cultivators from Xianling's sect who were tasked to clear out the 16 islands. They were tasked to deal with 5 Zhenling sect blood condensation realm cultivators, while the remaining 11 blood refining realm disciples were dealt with by 33 blood refining realm disciples. However, after 3 days, only 2 of the 10 blood condensation realm cultivators had returned, and more than half of the 33 blood refining realm disciples were gone. This immediately alerted Xianling's sect. They believed that there must be another expert in Zhenling that escaped their net. This person should be at least a mid-blood condensation cultivator, or else he wouldn't be able to kill 8 early blood condensation cultivators in a row. Of course, it was impossible for him to be a core forging cultivator. If he was, he would have already killed his way to Xianqi Island or escaped Xianling's sex blockade. To stop a core forging cultivator, it would take at least 3 cultivators of the same level. If he wanted to leave, 1 or 2 cultivators of the same level wouldn't be able to stop him. Xianling's sect had already sent out 2 teams of 10 blood condensation cultivators, each led by a late blood condensation cultivator. By now, the attacks from the blood condensation experts on Xianqi Island had weakened, but Xianling's sect's core forging enlightened masters still had the advantage in numbers. Zhenling was still relying on the island's defensive formation to defend Xianqi Island. Hu Lili called Lu Ping and the other 3 blood condensation cultivators over and explained the situation on Xianqi Island. The situation has changed again. Xianling sect has sent out 2 late blood condensation cultivators to search for us. They won't expect us to sneak into Xianqi Island. What's more, Xianling sect's core forging enlightened masters still have the advantage in numbers. Furthermore, Xianling sect has already sensed that the cultivators on Xianqi Island would try to destroy the teleportation formation. They're already prepared. If the blood condensation cultivators on the island rashly try to destroy the teleportation formation, they might fall into Xianling sect's trap. The blood condensation cultivator Lu Ping and the rest rescued was Zhong Jian from Group 2. He was one of the 4 heroes of the side hall, along with Yao Yong. Initially, Zhong Jian didn't understand why a blood refining cultivator like Hu Lili would be in charge of this group. However, after seeing how well Hu Lili handled everything, and how wise she was, Zhong Jian couldn't help but admire her. Thus, he tacitly agreed to Hu Lili's position in this 0-hour group. Hearing Hu Lili's description of the situation, Zhong Jian asked anxiously, "What should we do?" Hu Lili hesitated and said, "Unless we destroy the ceiling formation." Yao Yong quickly shook his head. "We can't do that. Putting aside the fact that we're weak, Xianling sect isn't stupid. Since they know of our existence, how could they only guard against the cultivators on Xianqi Island?" Lu Ping smacked his lips and said, "We can divert their attention in another direction." Hu Lili's eyes lit up. "What do you mean?" Lu Ping said, "Do any of you have the sound transmission magic sword of the cultivators on the island?" This was indeed for the 3 blood condensation cultivators. The sound transmission magic sword could only be used by blood condensation cultivators. Zhong Jian asked curiously, "I have one. Why would we use it? Xianqi Island is surrounded. If we use it, won't our location be exposed?" Hu Lili giggled and said, "That's exactly what we're going to do. Now that we have a way to divert Xianling sect's attention, there are only 2 problems left. First, who will be the bait? Second, how can we break the ceiling formation?" Hearing Hu Lili's words, everyone couldn't help but think carefully. Hu Lili hesitated and said, "I've done some research on the ceiling formation. I know how to break it in the shortest time. So, we can only go to Xianqi Island." Hu Lili's cultivation was weak, so they didn't want her to be the bait. Besides, without her guidance, it would take a lot of effort to break the ceiling formation. Lu Ping thought for a moment and said, "Leave the bait to me. The rest of you work together to break the ceiling formation." Yao Yong jumped up and said, "I'll go with you." Lu Ping was touched. "Senior martial brother, there's no need. The fewer people, the better. Besides, I have a few escape tools. The more people there are, the better it is to break the formation." Du Feng stood up and patted Lu Ping's shoulder. "Junior martial brother is right. He is the strongest among us. He has the highest chance of survival." Then, he turned to Lu Ping and said, "If anything happens to junior martial brother, Du Feng, swear to the heavens that for the rest of my life, I will make sure that every Xianling sect core forging cultivator and above dies with junior martial brother." Yao Yong also said excitedly, "Me too." Lu Ping knew that Du Feng was not a talkative person. Today, he said so much to show his friendship. Not to mention, he made a solemn vow. Lu Ping smiled and said, "Don't underestimate me, Lu Ping. If I'm not confident, I wouldn't dare to recommend myself." Zhong Jian passed the sound transmission sword to Lu Ping and took out a talisman. He hesitated for a moment and passed it to Lu Ping. "Junior martial brother Lu, this is the only life-saving talisman my ancestor left me. I'll give it to you today." Lu Ping took the talisman. It was a blood escape talisman. The talisman was glowing. It was a blood condensation realm talisman. Lu Ping declined. "Since this is senior martial brother's ancestor's item, how can I borrow it?" Zhong Jian put on a straight face and said, I know Junior Marshal Brother is an expert in talisman crafting. I was thinking of asking Junior Marshal Brother to pay me back. Since Junior Marshal Brother is so stingy, I won't lend it to you. He pretended to ask Lu Ping for the talisman. No one expected Zhong Jian to crack a joke, and they were all amused. Lu Ping laughed and said, Since Senior Marshal Brother is willing to give it to me, how can I return it? I will remember this favor. Lu Ping was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. He turned around and asked, Senior Marshal Brother Zhong, who is this sound transmission sword for? Zhong Jian blushed and said, This is for Senior Marshal Sister Ma Yu. When everyone saw Zhong Jian's expression, they burst into laughter again.